Hello and welcome to Flix and Chill with me, Luke. This time I have a very special guest, another one from Down Under, which is Mr. Adam is with me today. So Adam, why don't you take it?
Hi, Luke. Yeah. Well, what would you like me to say? Um,
Just a brief section about you, what you've been up to, who you are.
yeah. Okay. Well, I am. I live on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. As I was just explaining to Luke before we started, I'm in the middle of a heat wave at the moment. It's very hot and sticky.
Hmm.
I have two. I have twins who are almost 17. Trying to get them prepared for the world. I'm single. I basically have, well, pretty much sole care for the kids. I am a public servant. Have been working for the Australian government for 21 years now.
Mm.
Look, I'm a movie fan. That's how mainly. That's how we kind of got to know each other. Or got to be
Yep.
aware of each other. I'd say through
Mhm.
SIFPOP. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's the simple way to explain who
Yeah.
I am. I will say I'm from Tasmania. I'm proud that I'm from Tasmania, but I'm also proud that I don't live there anymore. I moved to Queensland about 10 years ago. So,
Mhm.
yeah, if you're not aware, Tasmania is kind of like the Alabama of Australia. Like it's like the backward, known as the backwards inbred part of the country, but it's obviously not like that. It's a very beautiful place,
Mhm.
visually. Yeah.
So you said you're a public servant for Australian government.
Yes.
Can
Correct.
do you want to specify it, or we don't have to, but what does that mean
Uh,
if you don't mind specifying it?
I work for the tax office, so you got your version of Inland Revenue, IRS in America.
I see.
But I'm not an accountant. I don't do anything to do with taxes. So I actually started my career in a call center working with business registrations and blah blah blah, and I've made my way up over that time, and I'm now in business improvement for our legal law design team.
Hmm.
So basically, people who lawyers effectively, so try and improve what how they operate and become more efficient and cost effective and so forth. Yeah,
Okay, that sounds interesting. That sounds. So you said you moved from Tanzania to Queensland, right?
correct.
Okay,
In 2014, so almost 10 years I've been in Queensland.
nice. What is the main difference between those two? Because as somebody who's never been to Australia whatsoever, right? So
Mhm.
what are the main differences between those two places?
Well, I'll start with the similarities because
Okay.
Tassie and Queensland are both rely a lot on their tourism for
Hmm.
income, international visitors. Um, the difference is where the weather, like Tasmania, is a very temperate climate, so it's a kind of a bit. It's very similar to the south of France. So Tasmania is actually really well known for its brilliant produce. Like it has the top, like some of the best produce in the world. It's actually been measured by the UN, I think the UN or whoever those organisations are, but it actually has, there's a section of Tasmania on the northwest coast where I'm from. It's actually the cleanest air in the world.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of great cattle and blah, blah, blah grown there, like everything. Queensland is more a tropical climate. Queensland is a big state. It would probably cover most of Europe,
Hmm.
as in size wise. It is so where I am on the Gold Coast is like the Gold Coast is actually the most populous non-capital city of Australia. So it's about 700,000 people, and still fastly growing. Have a lot of international students here.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's probably the biggest difference. Is the people are obviously different because Queenslanders and Tasmanians are very well. Actually, other parts of the country would say they're not that different.
Okay.
It is Queensland is known for having a lot of bogans, well, rednecks. I don't know what you call them in Scotland. Chavs, maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
uh,
probably.
but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to kind of differentiate. When it's easy to differentiate, but it's hard to kind of put it into words right now when I'm on the spot. Um,
Mhm.
it's just very different all around. Like Queensland has a lot of theme parks. Gold Coast is the theme park
Mhm.
capital of the country. Um, Further up north, you have like the Brisbane, which is a half-hour drive from here. Has got the Olympics in 2032.
Mhm.
Further north from that, you have Cairns and the tropical areas, which basically hit by a couple of cyclones at the moment up there, a bit north. Actually, I will say where I am, although this isn't really explaining a difference, but just 2 exits down the road from me, they actually film a lot of movies there on
Mhm.
at the theme park at Warner Brothers Movie World. So a lot of big name movies have been made down there and have a lot of celebrities staying here,
Hmm.
all quite often. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. See, okay, maybe I'm gonna ask a stupid question, but I'll go for it. Because I know how huge Australia is.
Hmm.
And so to me, and I know it's obviously historically made out of like a different, like, this part is like British people, this part is maybe
Hmm.
Italian people. So between, Queensland and I said Tanzania before, it's not Tanzania, it's the other one.
Tasmania.
Tasmania,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I do apologize to all the Tasmanians. Um,
It's,
is there
all
any
five of them. Yeah.
difference in a cuisine, like or like in a food? Like would Tanzania have a maybe something different? Like well, like I understand probably it's not that big of a difference, but would there be something
Um,
specific that you would not only, but would be like a Queensland speciality?
um, the biggest Tasmania has quickly grown into like an ecotourism spot. So the cuisine, if you go to the certain pockets that are catered for tourists, is very high class stuff, very expensive,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the east coast of Tasmania, which is really kind of untouched. It's actually owned by a lot of famous people. Like Greg Norman has a resort down there.
Mm,
A lot of land. J.K. Rowling owns property down on the east coast of Tasmania. And so the differences would be both states rely a lot on their seafood, but it's
mm.
different seafood. Tasmania is known for farming. Like apparently, I don't know how true this is, but Tasmanian salmon is on par with Norwegian salmon. But it's farmed,
Okay.
so there's a lot of what do you call it? A lot of negative press with the farming of salmon,
Yes.
the way they're looked after. So it's not it's apparently all it's cracked up to be.
Mm-hmm.
Tasmanian wine is known to be some of the best in the world, like especially in the northeastern part near Launceston and the Tamar Valley. France actually import grapes from there when they're running low or when they don't have because it's the same. It's a very similar climate to southern France around the Bordeaux region and what have you.
Okay.
Um, Queensland, because it's such a big state, I guess they have things like Moreton Bay bugs and yabbies and prawns and
Mm-hmm.
especially fruit. Queensland is the mango and banana state. Like pretty much all bananas from that you would buy in Australia, wherever would come from Queensland.
Mm-hmm.
Same with mangoes. There's a lot of also cattle in Queensland. Actually, Tasmania has a very good reputation for cattle as well, but because that's all grass fed, like top quality stuff.
Yeah.
But in Queensland is actually Rockhampton, which is very north from where I am. They're kind of known as the cattle capital of Australia. So
Mm-hmm.
they actually have a different breed of Wagyu beef, which actually is upsetting the Japanese
Mm-hmm.
customers because we actually export that to Japan and China, and we're actually cutting them out of their market. So, um,
And is it on
yeah, I
par
mean, I
with
don't know.
on par with the Japanese Wagyu beef, or like how
Um,
have you had it?
I don't know if I've had it. I mean, I've had Wagyu. I don't know where it's come from.
Okay. Okay.
And it's not something I would eat all the time because I'm not a fan of it, to be honest.
I see.
It's I'm very bland when it comes to eating my meat. I like well done steak, which a lot of people will
Oh
abuse
yeah.
me now. I mean, I don't mind a medium steak.
Hmm.
Medium rare is which is what it's supposed to be. I can't handle medium rare. It's just I feel like I'm eating raw meat, and I can't handle that.
Hmm.
Um, whether it's on a par, look from all reports, it's if it's not better, if it's not equal to, it's not far behind the Japanese stuff.
Okay.
Um, yeah, um, yeah. I mean, I think I've sold those two places. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if I've actually answered your question, to be honest. But
No, no, no. I think
because
that's all good.
actual cuisine wise, though, sorry, going back to your actual original wording,
Hmm.
the cuisine is similar. Like to Australia, Australia don't really have a cuisine
Yeah.
specifically. We don't have a national dish. Even our national dishes are kind of ripped off. We always claim we like meat pies, which is obviously an English thing.
Hmm.
Um, which is such a boring thing to say is your national dish is a meat pie where every other country like it
Well,
has
see,
such
here's the thing. I don't think it's boring because like, it's only the UK and Australia, and that's from what I understand pretty much it when it comes to pies, having meat in them. Because everywhere
mm,
else you go in the world, pie is sweet.
it's fruit.
If
Yeah.
yeah, it's fruit like it's apple pie, it's cherry pie, it's whatever pie, right?
Mm,
But if you go to the UK or Australia, and you say, "Oh, I'm in the mood for a pie," you have a better chance of getting a mince pie or a beef pie, or like we have a haggis and tatty pie. We have all the different types of
Ah,
pies, like macaroni, like the macaroni cheese, like inside of a pie. So we have
oh
macaroni
wow.
pie. Well, it's
Oh,
quite
okay.
nice. Like depending on which bakery you go to, it's quite nice actually.
Right.
Like it's obviously like decadent, but it's like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, Australia, we have a lot of different pies too. I don't know if we've had a macaroni pie, but we have these abalone pies or butter chicken pies. You can buy
yeah.
pretty much whatever, like
Hmm.
brie, a lot of chicken and brie, or
Hmm.
um, yeah, maybe you can put whatever you want in a pie.
No,
In reality,
exactly. Look, here in Scotland, there are two rules when it comes to food. If it can be fit into the pie, we will fit it into the pie and bake it. So there's like a
yeah,
lot of crazy stuff I've seen over my almost 13 years being here. And second rule is if it can be deep fried, they'll deep fry it.
yes. Well, you guys invented the deep fried Mars bar, right? So you're not
Yes, I've actually visited that place that where it originated from. It changed the owners,
right.
so it's not the same owner. However,
Hmm.
they have a banner that proudly says the home of the deep fried Mars bar.
That's classic. So you're
Yeah,
not. That was going to be one of my questions. You're not actually. I can tell from your accent you're not from Scotland
correct. Yes, you
originally.
can
So you're from.
Czech Republic.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, there you
Yes,
go.
born and bred for almost. I moved here one day before my 20th birthday. So as I
Oh
celebrated
wow.
my 20th here, which on the hindsight, it wasn't a great idea being all alone in a new environment for my 20th birthday. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I've stayed here for now, as I said, almost 13. It's gonna be 13 years this year. So yeah, studied
Wow.
here and now and I got the job here and like a
Yep.
full-time job after my studies because I had to work through my studies.
Hmm.
And yeah, and now I'm just working here. I have a life here, have
Just
a girlfriend, flat, all good stuff.
yeah. Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Um, that's interesting. I might have some questions at the end about the Czech
Okay.
Republic when we get to
Full
that point. Yeah.
I'm open to book, so feel free to ask. But see, here's the thing, right? So you gave us a bit about yourself, and obviously we both love movies. That's the main thing, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
besides movies, what makes Adam Adam? What are your, do you have any other hobbies? What other stuff you like? What other stuff you dislike?
Um, I have basically I've the older I've gotten, especially since I've had kids, because your time is much more precious once you've had
Yep.
kids. So I used to have a lot of hobbies. Sport was my hobby. Like I played sport as a kid.
Hmm.
If you could see me now, the people listening, you wouldn't think that because I, middle age spread and all that. I've put on a lot of weight. So no, I used to play a lot of cricket. Used to play a lot of Aussie rules football.
Hmm.
Whatever I used to play a lot of golf even, but basically as I've gotten older, even watching those sports, I love watching them. But as I've gotten older, I've had to cut all that stuff out, and the only thing that's really stuck with me apart from movies is Formula One.
Okay.
I've always said Formula One is the reason I get out of bed in the morning,
Hmm.
other than my children and whatever. But that's me pretty basically Formula One or movies, and I will talk your ears off for days. Honestly, if we start on those things.
Okay, let me just ask, who's your favorite team and who's your favorite Formula One rider right now?
Okay, so people always ask me who's your favorite driver, and I don't really have one. I never have had one because
Okay.
I love the sport for the sport.
Hmm.
I love to see new winners. I love to see new winners win all the time, regardless of who it is. What I've generally found, and I've been following the sport for close to 30 years now, and
Hmm.
when I say following, I'm pretty intensely. I read about it every day. I used to buy magazines when magazines existed. I used to, I watch races over and over. So I normally find myself hating a driver rather than liking just a single driver. I'm Australian, so naturally I follow the Australian drivers. So at the moment, we've got Oscar Piastri. We also have, I'm not sure how much you know about the sport, but obviously Daniel Ricciardo is back in the game.
Hmm.
There's a young racer, Jack Doohan, who is Mick Doohan's son. Mick Doohan was an Australian motorbike champion for like a legend of the sport. They actually live in my suburb. They've got a big house over on the water here, just pretty much 10 minutes across the road from me.
Okay.
So Jack Doohan, his son, was a Formula Two driver, and he's a test driver for Alpine Formula One team at the moment. And been following him on the socials. He's actually on the Gold Coast at the moment, just touring about and living his best life until he has to go back to Europe to test more, I guess. Um, And yeah, so I guess drivers I hate. At the moment, I really don't like Max Verstappen, and that's not because he wins all the time. It's because I think he's an arrogant prick, and he's
Okay.
the shame for me is that he is probably the quickest driver that's ever raced in the sport. He is, and it's not the reason I hate him. He's just not a nice person. I don't think on the track he's very unsportsmanlike, and I'm a very play by the rules, play fairly type of person. So I
Mm-hmm.
hate it when I see in any sport
Mm-hmm.
go against those spirit of the game. Even with cricket, I kind of stopped following cricket when Australia had a bit of a controversy in South Africa a few years back with some ball tampering. Again, I'm not sure how much you follow cricket, but I kind of gave up on the Australian cricket team because of
Mm-hmm.
that. We broke the rules and was doing something very dodgy, and allowed two of those players to keep playing the game. And I'm not sure whether we can swear on this or not, Luke. But I've
Yes,
got
we
to
can. Feel free.
just fuck Australian cricket. Like it really pissed me off. There's so much also betting corruption, and it's just got really corrupt. So I gave up on cricket, and I was a pretty diehard cricket fan back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'll check the scores every now and then, but I don't ever watch a ball of it being played. It just really bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that I mean that's just kind of a bit of me in a nutshell, and on how I feel about that. But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
as a team though, sorry, again, I'm going to scatter your brain all the time, man, because my thoughts are
That's
scattered.
fine.
I've got that disease, I think. I'll go back. So teams I follow, like I've always been a McLaren fan because I think my all-time favorite Formula One driver was Mika Hakkinen, who was
Mm-hmm.
big back in the late '90s, mid to late '90s, racing against Michael Schumacher. I loved Hakkinen. I love him now, even as a personality. Since he's retired, he's just a cool dude. Just sneakily funny and just and was mega quick. So
Mm-hmm.
he drove for McLaren, and yeah, I'm just been a McLaren fan, I guess, if I had to follow anyone.
Okay. Okay. That's all good. All good. So you said you're based in Queensland, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, so if I were to tell you I'll I want to come to Queensland for a week,
Yep.
so what would you recommend for me to visit? What do I need to see? What restaurants do I need to go and eat? Like
Mm.
to try some great food. What would you recommend?
I'd have to know a bit about what you like to do. Like, do you like scuba diving? Do you like fishing? Do you like sailing, or would you prefer touristy stuff like?
Yeah, like sightseeing, right? Like so, like specific like to Queensland. Let's say, do you have like a nice museum or something I would only be able to see in Queensland
Mhm.
because this is only existed here, or we have this amazing cinema or what something like that.
Ooh. Well, honestly, the best place you could go would be you could probably land in Brisbane,
Hmm.
which is the capital city here. There's a couple of million people, I think, the population of Brisbane, which is, like I said, just half hour north of me.
Hmm.
That is where all the museums and good cinemas are, and theatres and so forth. Obviously, not nearly on par with what you have in Melbourne or Sydney.
Hmm.
But if it was just a week you were spending, you could easily land in Brisbane, spend a few days. It's a
Hmm.
short drive down to the Gold Coast. Honestly, literally a short drive, an hour if you get good traffic from Brisbane, even less than. Here you've got on the Gold Coast, you've got all your theme parks. You've got some amazing beaches down in Surfers Paradise and Broad Beaches, where you've got some good restaurants, good shopping, which actually caters for a lot of the Asian market down there. There's really where the high end stores are, like you see Hermes and um, Louis Vuitton and all that down that end on the Gold Coast, where if you're into that type of thing, but that's where all the good shopping is.
Hmm.
And we have also just to the well, I'll say to the right of me, not that makes a difference to anyone listening to this. You have the mountains, you have Tamborine, which we call our scenic rim. So you have the mountains that just before you get to the Gold Coast, and it's just beautiful up there. It's like a lot of forest and a lot of wilderness ecotourism, a lot of really great restaurants up there as well, to be honest. You would easily fill in a week in Queensland and be more exhausted for it. Like a
Hmm.
week would not, honestly, if you had the time, mate, if you had a month, I would say spend 3 weeks in Queensland and 1 week, or maybe 2 weeks in Queensland, 2 weeks in Tassie. You would have a great time. Honestly, you would see a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I do need to ask you the same question I asked Alice the other day. So, how many? Because again, as a person who's never been to Australia, I've heard a lot of people and stuff you have crawling in Australia, especially all the you know insects, all the spiders, all the snakes, some like deadly venomous and poisonous
Hmm.
creatures.
Mm. Yep.
So how much or how many of those are where you stay in Queensland?
Almost all of them, to be
Ah,
honest.
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
in my so I'm from Tassie, and there's not a lot of creepy crawlies in Tasmania. You get some
Hmm.
spiders, like the bigger spiders,
Hmm.
but here in Queensland is where the more snakes are. So in my estate where I live, it's kind of a new estate that was built on just all this forest that was kind of cleared out, and we have like a neighbourhood Facebook page,
Hmm.
and often you'll see people spotted a snake. There was someone who actually put a video up. There was a brown bellied, a brown snake, which is like I think the second most venomous snake on the planet, was actually crawled up to their back porch window and just tapping on it to try and come in because it was so hot. They was looking for somewhere cool to be, and luckily I looked up where their street was. It's actually right up the back of the estate, on the back of where the forest still is, and I was like, think, fuck, that's nowhere near me
Hmm.
because I've seen a couple of snakes around here, just crawling across. They just crawl across the road and go into wherever they live. They don't really bother you too much. The biggest problem we actually have is flies
Hmm.
and mosquitoes.
Okay.
And mosquitoes at the moment are actually spreading Japanese encephalitis, which is killing people, which is just, it's not cool. It's it's quite bizarre actually, and yeah, and I don't like them. I actually was walking, true story, walking down my hallway, and I'm deathly afraid of spiders. I hate them. I'll even make my kids attack them and kill them before I leave. Oh wait, I can't even look at them honestly.
Hmm.
But I was down my hallway the other night, and I saw this thing at the corner of my eye. The hallway was dark, and this spider, honestly about big as the palm of my hand, was on the wall. And I shat myself. I rushed back to the kitchen, grabbed the fly spray, and was spraying it, and was running away. And at one point, and this is what these spiders do, they actually turn back and try to attack you. Like it actually
Oh.
turned back towards me and started running at me while I was spraying it. I hit the nozzle, man, and it took it out, and it went back the way it was coming because they hunt you back. I was like, oh man, it's so frightening. Yeah.
How
So
how
anyway,
how do you survive there? Like like we have some
it's
insects here, but it's nowhere near as because like that's what I said to Alice as well. Like Australia to me seems like a place where everything is, dialed up to like 12. And especially these creepy
yeah,
crawlies, they seem to be designed to kill you. Like,
yeah, they are, but I mean, it's not. It There is a lot of beat up that you see on the internet. Like it is blown out a bit out of proportion. And what I've just said is just they're really rare events. To be honest,
mm,
I mean, we'll find those bigger spiders 2, 3 times a year in the house. Like it's not that often.
mhm,
Um, and then the snakes, I don't. I mean, although they're around, I mean, the adage is true that they're more scared of us than we are of them. So as long as
yeah,
you stay away, there's
mhm,
not there's not that big a deal. And it's not like you walk out and there's like six snakes rocking down the road. You'll see one every now and then. You know, it's
mhm,
yeah. It's I mean, it's you can look. The fact that there's 20 odd million of us is I guess enough to say that no, we don't all get attacked by bugs that often. You know, so
mhm,
we actually have a bat problem in Queensland. Is big on bats.
mhm,
A lot of I don't know if they're fruit bats or some other kind of bat, but I know that they're huge, man. I was outside last night looking for my cat, and there's these bats, and you'll hear them just squawk because they up in the mountains, like where I was talking about before, up on the scenic rim. They'll travel to and from there just overnight during twilight to go and feed and whatever, and they are scads. And you'll see, is that a bird? But you'll see, like it looks like the Batman logo just flying through the sky. That's what exactly, and you go, oh, it's a bat, and
mhm,
they are like as big as like a terrier, like a dog. Like sometimes it's just nuts, and the noise they make, it's pretty unmissable. The problem you got to do with them is that if you don't stay under them, because they carry all these diseases in their poo,
mhm.
and they actually kill horses that have really lethal diseases that will kill a person within 24 hours if it touches you or whatever. So when I see them, I kind of move out from underneath them.
Yeah.
Just in case, it's not like being pooed on by a bird. A bat can actually really mess you up.
Okay. See, okay, I'm
Yeah,
changing my plans. I don't think I'm ever coming to Queensland because, yeah, like look, my girlfriend is
I've made it
terrified of
sound.
snakes. Like, she is
I've
terrified of
scared you off.
snakes, and I can handle spiders, like the tiny ones, but like I've
Mm.
seen some of the huntsman spiders, and I know they are like not actually like venomous spiders. So like they don't
Mm.
actually like they cannot really hurt you, but they are big.
No,
And I'm like,
yeah, it's the way they look. They're
yep,
misunderstood, and yeah, and I'm happy to misunderstand them because I don't like them. But the thing about those huntsmen is that they actually keep away the nastier ones, like because they'll
yeah.
eat the nastier ones.
Mhm.
Yeah,
No, that's what I hear, that
yeah,
apparently like every Australian knows if you have a huntsman spider at home, you leave it alone and it actually hunts and kills the other spiders that are actually
yeah,
like venomous. So
mm,
it actually kind of protects you if you leave it alone.
kind
So
of, yes.
I'm like, yeah, like I understand it, right? Like my logical brain understands that's a good thing. But my
Yeah,
illogical part of the brain will be like, that's a big fucking spider. And
yeah,
like,
exactly.
and if it lives in my like I don't know, if I had a garage or if I had like or living room and it would live there, I'm not quite sure if I'd be like cool with that. You know what I mean?
No, it's yeah, no, it's not cool. It's not fun. I'm the same. Like I'll see those big bastards, and I'll just go, nah, you're gone. Like if I can,
Hmm.
it's like kids come and spray this thing, or yeah, or if I'm like unlucky enough to be the one to see it, then it's got to be me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, all right. With that, we can
don't be
move
too scared
to
off though.
nah,
The
like
pros
nah.
outweigh the cons. Yeah,
No, I've heard so many people are, going to Australia and praising Australia. Like, they were like,
mm,
oh, it's such a great like way of life and like how,
mm,
like the weather is hot. And I'm like, yeah, all right, okay. Like I might eventually go if for me it's having the time and money, really, because
it's a
like
long flight too. Like
it's a
it's
long
a big
flight
flight.
and the
Yeah,
tickets ain't cheap. Like, you need to book
no,
well in advance to get like a semi-decent deal. And even that decent deal here would be at least £1,000 plus per person,
yeah, yeah.
And not a
So,
small
mate,
feat.
even living here isn't cheap though at the moment. The same as everywhere around the world, but inflation here it's gotten out of control. Everything is just beyond a joke. So you need to have some good pocket money to come out if you're going to. Yeah,
Same here. Like the inflation, don't even get me started here. Just, oh my
it's
God. Like,
yeah,
but
it's
that's again, I think that's one universal thing right now. Like 4 years ago, we've had COVID. Now I
mhm,
think the universal thing is inflation, no matter where you look, if it's America,
yeah,
Australia, UK, just
yeah,
inflation has just been messed up everywhere. And people are like, how are you supposed to live? So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's getting very hard. I don't know how they're going to dig us out of the hole, but they need to because it's not sustainable the way it's going.
Yeah. Well, with that cheery thought, let's play a game of this or that. So I'll give you two
Hmm,
options, and you can tell me which one would you prefer and why. So
sure.
Adam, big party or small gathering?
Small gathering
Okay.
at my age now. Yeah,
Mhm.
but actually, all my life a small gathering. Big parties. I mean, I've been to them, but I've never been. I'm a very antisocial isn't the word, but social anxiety and stuff. So small gathering for sure.
All right. Okay. TV shows or movies?
Movies,
100%. Just no
hundred
questions.
percent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you watch a lot of TV?
Um, I'm making a bit more of a concerted effort to watch a bit more TV.
Hmm.
But it's basically because I have so many movies. Every time I watch a movie, I'll add three more to my watch list because I'll discover a director or an
Yeah.
actor. Yesterday, I watched a movie where I've discovered Peter Bogdanovich, and I'm like, holy shit! Now I need to watch everything he's done.
Oh yeah.
But with TV, although I did actually watch a bit more TV last year, when I do watch TV, it's generally old sitcoms that I love and rewatch.
Hmm.
I'll rewatch Seinfeld or Simpsons. I'm rewatching Red Dwarf again at the moment for like the 100th time.
Red Dwarf is
Um,
amazing.
oh mate, I love Red Dwarf. I'm on
Same.
season 8 again. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that countless times. I love it so much. But there's just a few that I have going all the time. Yeah.
You mentioned you discovered Peter Bogdanovich yesterday. What
Mm.
did you watch?
What's up, Doc?
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I've heard of it. I
Ryan
have not seen
O'Neill
that
and
one. I have.
oh mate,
Did you
I
like it?
loved it. It was so much fun. Yeah, I really, really liked it. I'm surprised. I've never seen a Barbara Streisand movie.
Mm.
Weirdly enough, I've never seen her
Oh,
in a movie, and
okay.
yeah, I've seen Ryan O'Neill a few times, and I'm actually starting to like him from The Driver and Barry Lyndon, obviously. And I've actually just recently bought Love Story because it was on clearance. I need to
Mhm.
watch that. But I really like Ryan O'Neill in this. Such a fun and funny movie. Like it's really
Mhm.
cool. Really cool.
I can recommend the Last Picture Show I watched just recently
Yes.
too. Peter Bogdanovich.
Uh,
It's a great one. Yeah,
yeah.
such a interesting director. Like I also need to see
It's
more of his work.
it's really hard to come by his stuff in Australia. So I've actually been trying to find it because I also want to watch Paper Moon. Because every time
Mhm.
I see when you see
Paper Moon
those
is great.
on social media, the Letterboxd do their favorite four with certain people. So many people say Paper Moon. I'm like, I really need to see this movie.
Paper
Uh,
Moon is
yeah,
awesome. Paper Moon is like,
yeah,
yeah, that was the other one I saw, and I was like, oh, but how? The name was escaping me for a second, so I was like, yeah, there's a second
uh,
one, but I don't want to spend half an hour remembering this one movie. But yeah, no, it's Paper Moon, and
mm,
it is a great one. It is a great one.
yeah. I can't wait to see it.
So,
I need
tea
to
or
find it.
coffee?
Oh, here's an interesting story.
Mm.
Um, coffee, absolutely. I love coffee, but a few years ago I got sick. And my doctor told me to stop having coffee. I was having panic attacks and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually went without coffee for about 5 years, and then literally middle of last year, I'm like, I really miss coffee. I miss the smell. I walk past the coffee shop and smell it, and I guess like a person who gave up cigarettes, they still love the smell of cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Coffee was like that for me, and then I thought, geez, I'm a dipshit. I just can have decaf. So now I make decaf, and I have this little mocha pot, like a cafetiere that I make, and I make great coffee in that, and
Mm-hmm.
so no, coffee for sure, but I was drinking tea for a long time. I mean, I
Okay.
like tea, but
Mm-hmm.
coffee is the best.
No, coffee is life. Yeah, and nowadays
Yeah.
they've actually improved the decaf like method. So if you buy from like a decent
Mm.
roaster, yeah, actually the decaf is nice. So
Oh yeah, it's really good. It's like a real coffee. There's no taste difference at all.
yeah,
It's really
mm,
good stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So a big question: money or free time?
Geez, that's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I think money because money can buy you free time. Honestly,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because if you were independently wealthy, you wouldn't have to work, and then you've got all that free time. As
Mm-hmm.
much as I want free time to watch all the movies on my watch list,
Yes.
the money would be able to buy me that time. I think.
And also, as I always say, that's why famous people like they have assistants for everything, right? They have this
Yes.
person going, and gets their like laundry done. This person
Hmm.
gets, their shopping done, not because they don't want to, or no, 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 they don't want to do it, but also not because they are that lazy. It's more that if you reach certain level, you understand that the only thing you cannot really buy is time. So that's as
Yes.
close as you
Yeah.
get to relegate these tasks to people, pay
Mm.
them for it, obviously. Like, let's not
Yeah.
go to the route of like unpaid interns, just pay the people. And yeah, and then you don't have to deal with this, and this, and you can just focus on whatever you want. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. That's why
No,
they all look so good because they can actually afford professional chefs and
yep,
you know
yep.
PTs and blah
Go
blah
to,
blah.
you know, going to the gym is part of their almost work. So, that kind of stuff, taking care of themselves properly, it's much easier to look as well as they do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
um, honesty or other people's feelings.
That's dependent on the situation. I think traditionally I go for other people's feelings as in to try and that's
Okay.
me. I'm just kind of an empathetic person, but sometimes you want to be honest with people, but if you know the if you know the person well enough, some people can't handle honesty. Some people can't. They can take constructive feedback.
Hmm.
And I've kind of learned that through my career to be as well. To be honest, like some people, you can say you're not doing this right, you're doing that right, and they're fine with it. They'll go and pick it up. Some people just have a big whinge and a big sook, and it'll actually set them backwards. So um, there are there are different ways to do it. So that's really tough. I mean, to make a choice would be other people's
Okay,
because I
okay,
care about people.
that's fine. So I need to know this one. Summer or winter?
Yeah. Spring.
Okay.
In Queensland, winter because it's actually really nice. Like it's low 20s. It took me 7 years of living in Queensland before I was cold because Tasmania is a cold climate, especially in winter. And the winters in Tasmania was a reason, one of the many reasons I left.
Okay.
Summer in summer in Tassie can be very harsh, even though it's very far south. It's really hard to do anything
Hmm.
in Tassie in summer because you get burnt so easily because the
Okay.
ozone layer is thinner down there. So
Hmm.
in Queensland, although it's sunny and hotter, you don't get burnt. You're saying you'll tan in Queensland, but in Tasmania you get burnt really bad.
Hmm.
Um, for where I live now, I'm going to say winter. To be honest, autumn, winter type of thing. But spring was always my favourite season.
Okay. Okay.
I'm all over the place. I'm all over the
That's
place, Luke.
look, that's all good, all good. So possibly the most important question of all, ninjas or pirates?
Oh shit. I'd prefer to watch a ninja movie than a pirate movie.
Okay. Yeah, you can take it
Yeah.
this way. You can take it, or you can take it, who would you rather be if you had a choice?
For who would I rather be?
Yeah.
I would much rather be a ninja. Pirate's a dirty, horrible lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
on the
Mm-hmm.
sea. I'm not a sea. I'm not good on the sea.
Okay.
That's for sure. I'm not a fan of boats.
Mm-hmm.
Or a big open water. Ninja for sure.
That's fine.
Staying in the shadows, being anonymous and kicking ass, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the
that's me.
stealth and all that, just like,
Yeah,
Yeah, got you.
yeah,
Got you.
absolutely.
And the last one, free will or destiny?
As in, what is
What do
more
you
likely?
Or what, no,
Free
well,
will.
what do you
Yeah,
believe that, this is all about you. So what do you, if you had to
yeah, free
choose
will.
one? Free will. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not. For me, that's kind of like are you religious or not question because destiny to me feels like it's a more of a religion, as a religious conceit,
Hmm.
as in because you feel like you're being whatever you do, you're going to end up in the same place because God is controlling you.
Yes,
They're watching over you. So no, I am. I'm a very strong-minded atheist. So yeah, free will for sure.
that's fine. Well, that's perfectly fine. And the last section, do you have any hot takes you are willing to share with us?
Um, yeah, well, what takes? Probably a lot. As I kind of said pre-show,
Hmm.
I do like a good conspiracy theory. Not to say that I am a conspiracy theorist, but
Hmm.
I will find myself buried in holes sometimes in social media. You'll find stuff and you just go, oh, you just investigate stuff. But anyway, I guess what I've determined over the years is that money to me, money is not real. Money isn't real anymore.
Hmm.
But I do think aliens are real, and I think that's kind of been proven the last couple of years that aliens are real. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to add on to that without more questions, to be honest.
No, 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 no. Like, I honestly, yeah, I think, look, money isn't real as in, since we came off the gold standard, it's not covered by gold. You mean it like that? Or,
No, well, yes, but also the fact that when you're watching, I'm going to delve into films, but when you watch films like The Big Short after the GFC, there was a lot of documentaries and films that came
Mhm,
out that explained how that all happened. So when you learn that every time you lend a bank a dollar, they can loan that out 99 times,
mhm.
um, and make interest on that money. That's how they make billions and billions of dollars. To me, money is just numbers on a screen. I don't use cash anymore, although I probably should use cash. To be honest, I don't like the idea that we would ever go cashless, but they reckon Australia will be cashless in 4 or 5 years, completely cashless.
Mhm.
Just the way things are going. But I'm guilty of not using it just purely for the convenience sake of it. But yeah, I mean, my pay goes as numbers on the screen. It goes into a bank, and then when I look at people that are struggling on the street, like you see homeless people or people homeless because of these local crises, there's no reason anyone should be suffering or should be struggling to the levels
Mhm.
that they are. When you see how much numbers on the screen are actually out there, they can easily be distributed. And my whole perspective is that the whole financial system is completely manipulated to keep 90 to 95% of us poor or having to work because if we don't work, if we're not working, they're not making their money, right? They're not getting more powerful and making money because
Mhm.
in reality, literally every single person in the world could just have numbers in their bank and have $5 million, right? Which would be enough for most people to live on, to buy a house and survive for almost the rest of their life, right? If
Mhm.
every single person, that could easily be doable. Literally every person on the planet can have $5 million in a bank account, but we don't because who would work then? And then where would you go and buy your bag of salad from? Where would you go
Yep.
and buy your avocados from? Because you
Yep.
need people to work to make money, to keep the system going, to keep society and civilization going. So they
Hmm.
need to keep us poor. There were figures that come out in Australia. I'm going to go on an old man rant here for a bit.
That's fine.
During COVID, and this is also this is from personal experience, but it's also from figures that came out in Australia that I was able to pay down all my debt during COVID because I wasn't traveling to work. I was saving money by not traveling. I wasn't going out to eat meals. I wasn't going out to the movies with my partner and this and that. So I saved lots of money, right? Even though I was spending money at home and getting fatter by buying stupid food and beer all the time, I still saved a lot of money. I was able to pay back all my credit card debt, get myself in front. And now all of a sudden, there's accidentally a financial crisis to make us poor. So credit card debt has to go back up, interest rates go back up because when people aren't paying back their credit card debt, then they've got more money to spend. Um,
Hmm.
and they do spend it, which is a good thing, but it also raises inflation because of supply and demand, which I think is also created. Supply is created to a large extent, so they have an excuse to raise prices as well. Corporate, I'm tangenting, but corporate greed is a huge factor
Hmm.
in the inflation that we have. Like it's ludicrous.
I don't think
So
that's
I've talked so much, I've made
actual.
myself dry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, I don't think I was just gonna say like I don't think that's as far as I understand from what I understand from you, right? What are you talking about? I don't think it's a conspiracy theory per se because like yes, technically we could all have like money as far as the actual concept. That's something we've invented
Mm,
to go
yeah.
away to get to like like a capitalism. So, instead of
Hmm.
trading, I'll trade you this goat for three chickens, and you get, trade me three chickens for whatever. We
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
have something tangible. But yeah, the problem is, once only a few people are hoarding the most, like, what is it? Like, the top 1% in America has about, well, like more than
95% or
like a
something, isn't it?
bottom 60% or 40%, something
I
insane.
think it's even more than that. Isn't it more than that even? Like, don't they control
Possibly.
like 95% of the wealth? 1% own 90 or 95% of the wealth. Like it's
Like it
that's
is
fucking
crazy.
that's egregious. That is disgustingly egregious. That
But again, the
when you see
same side of a coin, or the different side of a coin is, for us to move into some sort of like last Star Trek, society where money is not an issue and everybody lives some sort of comfortably, that's you bump into a different problem where, as you said, who's gonna keep working? If let's say we cancel money
yes,
or we cancel capitalism, you know,
mhm.
as many flaws as it has, it's still the only system that's kind of worked for
Yeah, that's yes.
over like a decade
It's
and so. However, it's reaching this kind of ceiling now where again,
yes.
because of billionaires mainly, and like all these tax loopholes, it's not, there is I can see there's a ceiling to it, and I can see in a not maybe not in a short run, but I can see in a long run where, there might something happen and people will actually just be like, no, we are sick and tired of this. We need to come with something else
Yeah.
or we all rebel. And we've seen it in
I
COVID when everything stops. We've
yeah.
seen it in COVID
Yeah.
how everything can stop within from day to day and how, you know, and how everybody suffered, like, all these corporations suffered. So that's
Mm,
that's the thing. At the end of the day, they need work. Like that's why Elon Musk is, advocating for more and more people, even though we've crossed 8 billion
yes.
people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and every time we, by the way, I don't know if you know, every time we cross a billion, it's we
Yeah.
do it in a short in a half the amount of time than the previous billion. So if we keep it
Yeah.
up, if
Yeah.
we keep it up, we will cross 9 billion people in about 9 years time, which is insane. Because from my in my lifetime,
Yeah.
we've gone from 6 to 7 and 7 to 8. So and yeah, and every time if
Yeah.
you look back at the, every time we cross the billion, the next billion, it's a half the time from the previous because at the beginning of 1900, so 124 years ago, there
Mhm.
was only 2 billion people living in the entire world. Only so we
That's
went
amazing, isn't it?
yeah, so we went only from
It's
what
hard to imagine that.
in 1 century we, quadrupled, you know,
Yeah.
and like resources are kind of running out. Everybody wants to, because of capitalism, more people can live more comfortably. However,
Yeah.
everybody wants to have a car. Everybody wants to fly places. Everybody wants to have this, and this. We all do.
Hmm.
Is that sustainable? That's the thing,
Well,
isn't it?
it's not sustainable, and we are. I agree. We are reaching a ceiling. What I do disagree with is that long term will be the
Hmm.
pushback. I think it's happening now. It's starting now,
Hmm.
especially when it becomes to millennials and Gen Z, wherever
Yeah.
you're from. They're pushing back on their employers and
Yes.
demanding more, and they're also saying, "I'm not going to be working all this overtime unpaid.
Hmm.
If I'm rostered 9 to 5, that's when I work. I'm not doing all this extra shit for you." And I love that. I love that whole culture shift. I think it's amazing
Hmm.
because employers for too long have had the belief that it's an employer's market. It's not. They need us more than we need them. And that's
Hmm.
the trick that's the wool they pulled over our eyes since the 50s, is that you need a job to do this and this. In the you said just a second ago, we need a car. We don't need cars. Like if you live in a big enough city, the
Hmm.
only reason I have a car is to get to work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've got a bus stop just out my doorstep. I don't need a car. If I want to get around, I can take a bus, then train wherever I want to go. And it'd be better for me too, because I'd walk more as well. So it's you know, yeah, without the whole, oh man, I don't know. I've just got too many thoughts in my head at the moment. I
That's
don't
fine.
think there's a lot of stuff. There's also that competitiveness of consumerism where you see your neighbor has a new Jeep. So you go, oh, I've got a shitty old Corolla. I want a new Jeep now too, or something like that. So
Yeah.
you see these shifts in. I mean, I'm just focusing on cars at the moment, but it's pretty relevant to a lot of other areas, like the bigger houses that you see as well.
Hmm.
People go, "Oh, I want this house. Now I want 10,000 square meters. I don't want to live in a 4,000." Why do you need that space? You don't need that space. Like it's
Hmm.
just six more families could live on that block of land that you have. You don't need that.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of, I don't know. There's just a lot of greed and a lot of competitive consumerism that play a lot into the struggles that we're facing, I think,
Yeah.
societally. Yeah.
And as you touched on the, millennials and Gen Z, I'm part of that generation. Well, one of the generations.
Mm,
I think I'm a millennial technically. So and yeah, like there's the stereotype that we are lazy and we are destroying this industry and this,
yeah, it's
and it's
bullshit.
like,
That's
and it's
bullshit.
like no, I like many of my colleagues and many of people I know, they are the most hardworking people I know.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
difference is, and as you pointed out, the difference is we are the first generation that's realized no matter where you live, unless you have some very nice job, the loyalty doesn't pay off. Meaning,
yeah,
our parents' generation, like this is I think this is the clearest example of that. Our parents' generation, it was so common for you to get a job when you were 20 or 18 or whatever, right?
and you
And
stayed
you
there till you died.
exactly, and you say until you retire, like 65. And we quickly, no, well, quickly, we have discovered that yeah, it's all well and good, but if you stay in one job, how much you gonna retire with? Because the job doesn't value the doesn't value as much as they should. And
Mm,
excuse
mm,
me. And then yeah, and then that's why this generation is job hopping generation, where you would see
yeah,
a typical CV like in the UK of a youngish person, like let's say 20s, 30s or so. They would have every 3 to 5 years they would have a different position. But like for example, I work in IT and I know a person
mhm,
who went from 24,000 a year to 40,000 a year to
yeah,
60,000, and now I'm pretty sure he's on even higher than that, just because he's changed
yeah.
jobs every 2 or 3 years. Obviously, he's
Good
got
for him, man.
qualifications.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, it's not like just as magic wand. Obviously, he kept on working on
Mm,
himself, but then that,
mhm.
no matter the current job, they would not reward him enough for that knowledge. So he just always, tap the market, what's available for this kind of skill set, and, almost always get a job.
Self-learning, yeah, and that's what you're touching back on what you're saying about you're supposed to be the laziest generation. That's so far from the truth. You actually work twice as hard because you have to work twice as hard just to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in the day, you're saying you could get a job at a grocery store, buy a house, support your family,
Yep.
have barbecues on the weekend, have go and play sports overnight and whatever.
Mhm.
Now I've got to work two, three jobs. Look, I'm on a pretty good wage, and I could work another job honestly to make a bit of extra money just to stay in front, not to live a better life. But it's just, man, I put myself off. It's yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what I was saying there. Sorry, I
No,
just lost my train of thought.
it's fine. Like I would say this. I was actually talking to my mom about this yesterday, and I raised the same point, and I even said, look at the media. Like you mentioned The Simpsons before, right? And it's an excellent example.
Yep,
And
yep,
they started obviously in 1989, been going on forever,
hmm
right? But
hmm
if you look at it, it now is unrealistic that only on one salary, on Homer's salary, who's lazy, stupid,
yes, yeah,
fat,
yeah.
all these negatives
No,
about
no
him.
college education.
Yeah, no,
No.
exactly. And he has a job where he's failing most of the time, yet
hmm
he's able to support five people, family, two adults, three kids.
Yep.
And in 89, that was kind of the standard. Same with like Married with Children. Peggy was the
Yeah, yeah.
housewife
You're
because that's
working as
what,
shoes as shoe salesman. Yeah.
and he was a shoe salesman. And that's what it is. So yeah, it is kind of interesting, like how even the media reflects that. If you mentioned you love to rewatch old sitcoms, like yeah, so if you watch
hmm
sitcoms from 80s, 90s, how common it is
Mm.
that only for one of the if they because usually it is like parents and a couple of children, right? How common is it
Yep.
for one of the parents to stay at home because they could, not because of, yeah, there was obviously some gender roles, and we can go and get into that,
Yeah.
but also
Yep.
it was designed like, yeah, one person can actually support the entire family, and they can, go on a big vacation once a year if they save up,
Yeah.
or have a nice
Yeah.
house. They don't have to, like, I always
Well.
hate the branding of gig economy, like what we have now, which is like a
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
rebranding of, well, one poor fucker cannot, sustain himself on one full-time job, so he needs to
hmm
drive an Uber or drive for, like, we have like a Just Eat or Deliveroo here, so you need to drive after your full-time job to actually make ends meet. And they branded it gig economy. I'm like, that's some heinous branding.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. But I've never thought of that, to be honest. Let's go back to what you're saying, like how they like those families in those old times. They also had modest, humble homes too. They were just
Mhm,
basically three-bedroom houses. Kids would
mhm.
share a room. They'd have one car for the family. Now, like, of course, going back to the competitive consumerism, now every home has two or three cars.
Yeah,
They have five bedrooms for three, four people. Like they have the most evil person in that town in most of those shows is the rich bastard that lives up on the hill who has
yeah.
the mansion. They're the evil people.
Montgomery
Where the
Barons.
rest, yeah. But it's not even just. It's always like the owner of the bank, or like you even look back to bloody Bewitched or something. It's just the evil people or the antagonists were always the wealthy, and
Hmm.
that's true to life now. Like it's back then, it was a comedy. It was a comedy bit. It was like over the top, but now it's real life. Like they
Hmm.
are the evil money hoarding, resource hoarding assholes who are making us work our asses off until working our fingers to the bone,
Hmm.
so they can have $750 million yachts in the Mediterranean. That is a gross injustice. It's
Yes,
um it's
it is.
it's sad. I think it's sad.
No, it is crazy. But before we move on, you also mentioned aliens, like existing,
Oh
like you
yes,
believe in
I
aliens.
did.
And
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
think, and again, I'll say, I don't know if this is a necessarily hot take anymore, because like I always had a
No.
belief I always had the thought where the universe is ever expanding. The universe is like, we can only see 0.02% of the entire
Mm,
universe.
yeah,
Why,
yeah.
like, what would make us so unique and special? We would be the only life form in the entire vast fucking universe, most like the majority of which we still cannot even observe. What would
It's
make us,
mathematically.
yeah, exactly. It's like pretty
It's
much
math.
almost impossible.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I'm not
mathematical.
saying,
I might expand on that. I might
yeah, tell me.
expand on the fact that I think that aliens exist. I think aliens have not only visited us,
Mhm.
but I think aliens live here now. I think
Oh, okay.
aliens have very strong connections and very strong relationships with world governments, and a lot of the technology we have is
Okay.
because of aliens. Yeah.
See, okay, I wouldn't go that far, so this is where we differ. But okay, like let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, I'll give you some examples. Look at how far,
Hmm.
maybe not example, but I'll give you some background. Look at how far we have come technology-wise since the 50s. Now, I've seen a lot of these. I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy called Bob Lazar. There's quite a few outspoken people. Like Bob Lazar is a guy who said he worked at Area 51,
Okay.
and he is incredibly hard to. It's very hard to think he's lying about what he's saying.
Okay.
He's I've seen him in multiple interviews, multiple shows, docu series. His story never changes. It's always the same. It's it's too real for it not to be true. If that makes sense, it's too out there to be a lie. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
He I can't remember when I've seen this thing, but back in the day before like IBM had computer technology the way they did, apparently hidden government, like American organization, had this technology that they were using in the 50s
Hmm.
that didn't hit the public until the 80s. So they were using all this stuff. This stuff gets slowly released. I don't know if you've ever looked up or heard the story about Google, how Google got their technology for Google Maps.
Hmm.
It was given to them, like, because this is all government satellites, right?
Hmm.
So they've done a deal with the US government, have all this data and information for them to actually share their data on
Hmm.
their users with the US government. It's a tit for tat situation. And I know this doesn't kind of relate to aliens at the moment, but a lot of that technology come from them, from deals that were done.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you've ever heard about, you would have heard of the Foo Fighters, not the band, but the actual Foo Fighters from World War II. Have you heard of Foo Fighters before? Yeah.
Not necessarily.
In World War II, fighter pilots used to see these UFOs or UAPs, whatever you want to call them now,
Oh, wait, yeah,
and they were
no.
basically
Hmm.
they're
Yeah.
basically observers of the fight. And there are well documented situations of where a nuclear war was actually happening. Shit had been launched during the Cold War that were just mysteriously dudded while they're in the sky midair in flight. They were either flying over Europe to the US from Russia, or they were flying over the other side to Asia, whatever. But they were just dudded out of the air with no explanation. And a lot of these guys who say they are on the inside, which are very respected generals who used to run all these departments, the aliens, and there's about 3 or 4 different tribes of them that actually live on Earth. One of them's benevolent. Sorry, 3 of them are like benevolent. One of them's like an antagonistic type of world who wants to see us wipe from the face of the earth. But 3 of them are actually looking after us, and they actually stop these nuclear bombs happening, nuclear war from happening. Basically, because they just shut them down in the sky because they don't want to see us destroy ourselves like that. These are, man, people are going to just fucking trip when if they listen to this. But there's also a reason why that happens, because there's a big, there's a theory,
Hmm.
and there's a theory, it might be a loosely based theory, that we didn't evolve on this planet. We were seeded. We were actually grafted
I've heard
with,
about that, yeah.
yeah, with primate DNA, which I guess would be monkey DNA, and our genes were spliced to see what they can create, and we are kind of like a social experiment, or you know,
That's like quite
it,
popular, like conspiracy. Well, I would say again conspiracy theory because yeah, it is one of those. I know it's usually
yeah.
used to be labeled crazy people, but I'm not trying to do that. Okay,
Mm.
but no, I've heard about that we are. So yeah, that's one of the big ones even I've heard of. So the gist of it is, we are an experiment, and that theory, if I remember correctly, says we are constantly observed. So technically,
Yeah,
Earth, if you believe in this, you probably believe the Earth and everything that happens here, right? And we are part of this massive reality TV show almost for aliens.
we're all the Truman Show, man. We're all the
Yeah,
Truman Show.
yeah. And I'm like, look, do I believe this? No. Like, okay, let's go
Look,
back. Let's go back, right? Because you've
yep, yep,
mentioned a
yep.
couple of different things. So, do I believe in aliens? Yes, because I think you're right. Mathematically speaking, and just just the I think you need to be almost like a some sort of human exceptionalist not to believe in other life forms because like I don't think we are that
Yeah.
special, right? And
No,
to suggest that we are
not at
somehow
all.
lucky and special enough to be the only ones in again in a universe we cannot really observe fully, like or not even fully, majority we cannot
Mm,
fucking see with our current technology. That I think that's just wrong. That's just bullshit. That's just you don't math
of
correctly.
course it is. Yeah.
Second, and it's very different. Look, Area 51, obviously I've heard of this. I've seen some like footage, I do they live in between us? I don't know. Like have they maybe landed? Like okay, have they maybe you would probably be able to convince me, and you would
Yeah.
also be able to probably convince me of the fact that if had they landed, the government, let's say American government or any government really, would hide it because I strongly believe in this. And you must have seen the movie Men in Black.
Oh, I love Men in Black.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there is a quote. There is a quote that
Mate, where this smoke, this fire. I know the quote what you're gonna say because it's one of the best quotes in any movie
it has no,
in
yeah,
history.
it has no right to be in a comedy movie. That quote, and it's like,
No.
man is intelligent, humanity is stupid. Like we are a bunch of
Yes.
like, once we group, we are a bunch of wild animals that can need to be lied because if we knew the truth, yeah, that we would just could not be able to handle it. So, and also on your other point
And
with
we proved
technology.
that through the pandemic, though. Sorry to interrupt, but we actually proved that through the pandemic. There's lots of intelligent people who knew what was going on,
Hmm.
but as a group of society, we were
hmm
dumb as shit. Like people are, yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry to
No,
cut you off there,
no.
but I
It's
think
no.
we proved that point.
And again, like I think now it's much more people are convinced there must be something out there because yeah, we've seen like yeah, United States like in 2021 they've released some videos of like hey, by the way,
Oh
aliens
yeah,
are real in between, yeah, in the middle of pandemic, like hey, we have some,
yeah,
they released some footage, like we don't know what this is,
and
so
no,
feel free
and no
to,
one gave a shit. Well,
yeah.
look, we're fucking busy, mate. Tell us later. We can't handle this right
It almost seems
now.
like, it almost seems like a perfect timing to release something like that, isn't it? When the world
Exactly,
is, anyway.
exactly.
But here,
Now,
but to your point
sorry.
about technology being
Yeah.
like, I also believe that yes, they specifically army and or a government, whatever you want, like
Yeah.
they coincide and
Yeah.
they are
Hmm.
few years ahead because that's where the progress
Yes.
happens. For example, the internet.
Yeah,
The
yeah, 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 yeah.
basis of
You're
the
right. Yeah.
internet was invented or was laid down
For the
during
Navy,
World
right?
War II.
Yeah.
During World War II to transfer information quickly. Again, it wasn't obvious. Look, it wasn't the internet for everybody who's listening who's like, what the fuck is he on about? It wasn't the internet we know now. Duh.
No,
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 it was just
no.
simple, from what I understand from my actual history lessons. It was just a simple way to transfer like text. Obviously, they were not transferring images or porn or movies. Of course not. Of course not. It was a simple way to communicate, but then they build up on top of it after World War II was over, and then laid the groundwork for the internet as we know it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
you know,
I just
mhm,
I just kind of want to clarify that all that theorem I was talking about, that
mhm,
I do believe I do strongly think that our technology has grown very quick for the short time since we invented the silicon chip and made a computer. Our
mhm,
technology has grown exponentially. It's like it is kind of ridiculous when you think of where an iPhone was invented in 2007, where a computer was invented 60 years before that. Like, I mean, that's really damn quick.
mhm,
Considering for 1800 years before that, we only just got off a horse
mhm.
and invented a car. Right? It took
Yeah.
us 1800 years to do that. So I mean, that's really really fast. But also in saying that, of all the shit I was talking about, although I do have a very strong inkling that
Mhm.
it's a very strong possibility that it's true. I'm not sure I 100% believe
Yeah.
this. I just think it's a very strong probability that it's true. I do think that governments deal with extraterrestrial species, and a lot of reports talk about the small greys and tall whites and different different species. Where they come from, who the hell knows? But
Mhm.
we're a very big galaxy. We are a very backward race when it comes to um, transport technology and things like that. But yeah, I just think it's a really high chance or a very good chance that a lot of those theories are true to a point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because too many people, too many high-ranking people have come out and said the same thing.
Hmm. And again, like I don't
With
know necessarily if I believe in like alien abductions. Like again, like I don't know because most of those people, they what they have on like some sort of TV shows and stuff, they, for lack of better word, they seem always unhinged. Which I guess
yeah,
if you genuinely believed you had that experience, whether you had it or not, you would probably
yeah,
be a bit unhinged because that would mess up your life and mess up your video head.
mate.
So, oh, tell me.
I no, I watched. This is we're going to touch on movies again because I watched a movie the other day. I don't know if you've seen it with Joseph Gordon-Levitt called Under the Skin,
Yes.
and it's you've seen that where the
Hmm.
kid thinks he's been abducted by aliens and he's searching for this other kid that he knew in school.
Wait,
Not
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Oh, I've seen Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson.
Mysterious Skin. Sorry,
Oh,
Mysterious Skin.
because Under the Skin is
Yes,
ScarJo being an
Under the
actual
Skin's
alien.
Johansson. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Well, Mysterious Skin is this kid.
Mm.
They both grow up and they're on the same baseball team. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is great. The other kid's a bit of a muppet, and he thinks he gets abducted by aliens.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No,
But
unfortunately, this one didn't. No.
okay. But as they grow up, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like they're maybe late teens, early 20s, Joseph Gordon-Levitt becomes like a rent boy, basically hooks himself out to all these blokes wherever he can. And this other boy is on this path to see whether he was abducted by aliens and whether he can track something down. And he figures out that he has dreams and he sees Joseph Gordon-Levitt in these dreams as he's a kid and spots him and tracks him down. And in the end, what it turned out to be is that they were both molested together and dealing with trauma. To think he was abducted by aliens, and it was just the way he dealt with his trauma.
Damn.
Where once, yeah, and that's I can't remember the point I was trying to make from what we were talking about. I was just trying to figure out how to
That like
put all that into
that
words.
they usually seem unhinged. So if you actually believe that, they would
Yes,
probably be.
yes,
Yeah. Hmm.
correct. Yeah, they do seem unhinged. So that's what he thought. So once he found Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character again, they kind of put it two and two together that they were both molested by the same baseball team coach, blah, blah, blah. It's a very confronting movie and very trigger warning.
Hmm.
Like I was watching, I was very uncomfortable, especially at the start. It's very creepy and scary when you have kids. Um, it's hard to recommend. Just depends on your trigger warnings, what you're triggered by. But
Yeah.
it was kind of a very hard watch to, especially the first half of it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, sidetracked as I do.
No, I was gonna say, look, like I was gonna say that actually could serve as a nice segue to the Flix part of the podcast, unless you have any other thoughts.
Sure. No, mate. I think I've
Good.
dug myself a big enough hole with all
Nah,
that.
I look, like there is a difference between a conspiracy theorist and a conspiracy theorist. Like if you were to tell me,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
if you started to say something like, I don't know, one of them awful conspiracy theories, how like Jews are, like it's something about
oh
like
God.
Jews, and look, those fucking theories we
Yeah,
all have heard of, unfortunately, and they become prevalent. I would be like, okay,
yeah.
okay, let's stop here because that would not no. Now, I think what you said is not, I think with many people will not be controversial at all. But anyway, so now
Maybe.
since we fixed the world and fixed the capitalism and, clarified
Hmm,
the aliens, let's talk about some movies.
let's do
So,
it.
Adam, what's the last new movie you rated 5 out of 5? And for the purpose of this podcast, new movies, anything after 2020.
I had to go back through my Letterboxd
Okay?
to see what I did. Rate five. I'm not going to count rewatching Oppenheimer last night because I did up that half a star to 5 star. I'm actually going to go back to my third favorite movie of last year, which was A Quiet Girl, the Irish movie.
Oh, I still
Um,
haven't seen it. That's the one that's nominated for Best International Feature, isn't it?
it was, yes, I love that movie so much. Having children really sells it to you. I was really able to empathize with it. It's a very heartbreaking. It's beautifully shot. It's just so subdued and subtle. And this girl, the main focus of the movie, the girl, she's so, she, yeah, she's, it was a while ago since I watched it, but she's just really scared of life because of the upbringing she had through this home. So, like basically, for the summer, she's shifted off to another family, a couple, couple, an older couple who have no kids because basically the mother's having another baby. They actually can't afford to keep her this because they've got like 74 kids and
Yeah.
they're poor and blah blah blah. So this girl's just kind of scared of the world, and because of the way she's treated at home, it's just such a sweet, heartbreaking movie,
Mhm.
and very hard not to cry at the end. To be perfectly honest, yeah,
Okay.
I loved it. It's such a great film. I now really can't wait to see it again.
See, I don't even know whether it was in the cinemas here in the UK, and it's an Irish movie. So I'll have to,
Yes, yeah,
I'll have to do some research if it was, and if not, if it may be before the Oscars, because yeah, I was like, oh, Irish movie nominated for the best like international feature. That would be interesting.
yeah.
That
You'd
like,
probably be able to buy the Blu-ray pretty cheap over there. I actually imported the Blu-ray from the UK. It was pretty cheap for me, so you're pretty good for $10, £10 or whatever.
I'll look
Yeah,
into it. I'll look
worth
into
worth
it.
buying. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, what is the last teen movie you've rated 5 out of 5? So that this is anything in between 2003 and 2019.
So I'm not looking at new. I'm looking not looking at new watches. So I'm also counting new watches in this. Is
Okay.
that okay? Like just
Oh,
the literal last one I've watched.
it's up to, no, it's up to you. So if you wanna, talk
Okay.
about the rewatch, it's yeah, we can talk about the rewatch.
Yeah, well, it's going to have to be rich because I can't remember what the last new movie I saw because I don't kind of keep track of that side of it, whether it's new and what I
Hmm.
rated it, to be honest, although I should. The last movie from 2003 to 19 I watched, and I've seen it like for the half, six, seven, 8 times, was The Nice Guys.
Yeah,
I love The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys is just immaculate, and we need more of them, to be honest.
it is a fun comedy. It is the way
Yeah.
Will Ferrell, how his character treats Eva Mendes in that movie
No, no, no.
is.
You're thinking of the other guys.
Oh, the other
The Nice
guys.
Guys
Yeah,
is
sorry, sorry, sorry.
the
Yes, I
Nice
always get
Guys
those
is
confused.
Russell Crowe and
Yeah,
Gosling. Yeah.
how can I forget that? Like, yes, duh.
A
No,
lot of people do that, I think.
because I was like, oh, he's talking about, oh, no, 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 yeah. Which, of course, like, I'm actually one of the few people, it seems like, that's seen it in a cinemas. Then so the nice guys.
Oh,
I have
really?
seen that. Yeah, no, no, because my mate at the time and I, we were both into movies. So, and we were
Hmm.
like, and he was, I think still is into like Ryan Gosling because well, we can't go wrong with Ryan Gosling. He's had
Yeah.
some
He,
amazing movies. So we were
he
like,
picked some good
oh,
projects.
yeah. And he's like, oh, him and Russell Crowe together. All right, let's check it out. And we had a blast. And you're like, yeah, this is
Yeah.
good.
It's so fun. I love that scene where they're protesting on the steps, and it's like, and yeah, it's just this whole scene is so great. I love
We are
that.
dead. Are you
Yeah,
dead to
we
tell me
did.
this? Who would kill you? The pollution. Air kill you? Or
What about
like,
the mask?
what
Didn't the
about yeah?
mask
What about
save
the
you?
mask? Did they not help? Or like my personal favorite is when they are in the porn stars party and
Yeah,
with
yeah.
his daughter. I was like, Daddy, there are horse and stuff. Sweetie, how
Don't
many times
say and
have I
stuff.
told you? Don't say and stuff. Just simply say, Daddy, there are horse.
It's so
No,
good.
it's just I am not afraid to say I think this will be or even is like a modern masterpiece of comedy. Like
Yeah,
this will be in
absolutely.
the like when we ask how we talk about I don't know coming to America or like
Mm.
change not changing places trading places with
Trading
Eddie,
places. Yep.
yeah, Eddie Murphy, like
Yeah.
those how we refer to those as like comedic masterpieces. I have a feeling
Mm.
Nice Guys will be that for like 2010s because excellent.
Yes, I agree.
Also, the other
I
guys
agree.
pretty good too, to be honest. The movie I
I
confused it
don't
with.
mind the other guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
The
not the
bloopers for
same
that are
level.
quite good.
It's not the
No,
same level, but
no.
it's especially when it comes to Will Ferrell. I think that's one of his better movies. So, but yeah. So, what is
Yeah,
the
I
last?
like
Tell
Will.
me, Will Ferrell. Yeah. What is the last adult movie you rated 5 out of 5? So, anything between 2002 and 1975.
Yeah, another rewatch. I wish I had looked at first watches to be honest, but anyway, the rewatch. I actually had to import because Australia sucks at physical media. Titanic on 4K, and
Oh,
Titanic is such a great because as you know, I write a column for Sip Pop that I write about older cinema, older movies, or 20th century stuff.
yeah.
Um, and so I've seen a lot of older movies now, the last 2 years, and Titanic really. is a throwback to a lot of those, especially on the romance part of the Titanic story.
Yep.
But then once you get to that last hour and a half of the ship actually sinking, it's so intense, it's so suspenseful. The 4K is incredible, incredible. It's such a brilliant transfer, one of the best probably the best I've ever seen.
Hmm.
But the film itself is just. I don't think Jim Cameron has ever done better or will do better. And suck it, all you aliens and T2 fans. Titanic is a much better film than
Ooh.
anything he's ever done. Yeah,
Damn. Okay, that
yeah,
that actually might classify as a hot take. That actually might classify as a hot take. I
yeah.
like
Well,
it. I
okay.
like it. Again,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily I don't think I agree, but I do like it. I do like it. And also speaking of the 4Ks, I'm building up my physical collection as well. And I have
Mm-hmm.
noticed Titanic, like, it's been released in 4K. And I was thinking about,
Yeah.
is it worth buying? So if you say the 4K is
Yes.
great,
Yeah. 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 Worth buying for sure.
okay, I'll
Hands down. Yeah.
I'll put it on my list then. Great. And what is the last old movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything older than 1974.
Yeah, well, I watched this for the second time recently because I did a recording with Shane, our other Sith Pop friend. The Big Sleep with Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. Um,
Nice.
1946 noir, just a Philip Marlowe thriller, and it's probably the best noir film I think I've seen. I put that above. Might be another hot take. I put that above the Maltese Falcon, Double Indemnity, films of that nature. I think The Big Sleep is spectacularly good. It's a little bit complex for its own good. It's a movie that you probably want to see. I've seen it twice. I'll probably want to see it another half dozen times because it's very rewatchable, and you need to rewatch it to be able to pick up on a lot of the shit that's going on in it. It's very wiry.
Hmm.
There's a lot of stuff going on everywhere. Is probably what I should say. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I think
fantastic
I've
movie.
seen it like 15 years ago or give or take. So, and
Okay.
I remember loving it, but it's definitely one of those I would have to rewatch because I cannot promise you or I cannot really tell you honestly that I remember much of it. I know I've seen it and I know I've
Mm.
enjoyed it. That was when I started my kind of, hey, let's watch even older movies journey, and that's when I became like a proper cinephile. So yeah, it's all well and good. Uh,
Definitely worth checking out again.
no, yeah, like 100%. I will. I will. And okay, so what is your favorite movie decade?
Well, okay. I've probably got a few different answers for this. My heart
Okay.
says the 90s because I'm a 90s kid. As
Hmm.
in, I was a teenager through the 90s, and I do think the 90s has some pretty amazing movies that actually changed cinema.
Hmm.
Um, Letterboxd says it's the 40s
Okay.
when I look at what my highest rated Letterboxd. But again, I've only seen movies from the 40s that are well known and well regarded. I haven't seen
Yeah.
average shitty films from that decade, so that's probably why. But what's growing in my estimation is the 70s. The more I've watched films from the 70s, there are some absolute banger films from the 70s. It's
Yes.
quite remarkable, actually, which surprises me because I always thought I didn't like the 70s because of the 70s has a very different look and feel to any other decade
Yeah.
of cinema, I think. It's very gritty. I mean, I think a lot of it's to do with the fashion and the hair, even, but damn, just some good films in the 70s.
I've mentioned this on a podcast a couple of times, so I'll mention it again. Yes, like I listen to DGA podcast, which is Directors Guild of America. And
Oh, yeah.
many big directors, they often refer to the 70s as their favorite movie decade. Then they often refer to like, this is the
Yes.
decade I wish like, I'm inspired by. And yeah, like if you think about it, Coppola, Spielberg, Scorsese, all these giants, this is where they got their
Friedkin.
footing, you know,
Yeah.
this is where they started. Coppola, like somebody made, I want to say Shane made this point on this podcast. Hopefully I'm right. If it was somebody else, please forgive me. You can argue that Coppola's best work was in the 70s. Like he's had
Oh,
some
yeah.
great movies in the
Yeah.
80s and in the 90s as well, but like arguably his best work we've gotten from Coppola was 70s. So it's hard to argue with that decade, And to your other point with the Letterboxd, I've also mentioned that with the other guest. Mine is the same. So if you were to check out my all-time stats, Like my number one rated decade is the four, 40s, I believe. The second one is like
Yeah, yeah,
30s, and the third one is 50s.
yeah.
But as you say, it's more because I've seen, let's say, 40, 50 movies, but most of them I would rate like 4.5 or 5 because we
Mm,
would watch like just the best of that decade, isn't it? So
yes, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
kind of
Yeah, yeah.
skewed.
That's the reason.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
again, I think those are some great, and I need to watch, and I would love to watch more movies from those decades because like I would love to see more
yeah.
because my ambitious goal is to watch every movie ever made, which yeah, it's not
Oh
gonna
God,
happen.
that
I
would
know, I know,
no.
I know, I know.
That's
No,
massive.
every time I say this, I'm like, look, I know, even if, like, I know that even with this caveat, even if everything shut down, like Hollywood, Bollywood, Asian cinema, everything
Mm,
shut down today, and since today, no new movies would ever be made, right? There was
you
like,
couldn't
for
catch
some
up.
reason, exactly, you couldn't catch up. Like, I would have to live
No.
probably like like another 200 years because it's
In
insane. Like
my
Bollywood, like for example, just Bollywood, how many movies they produce.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And then you've got all your Asian cinema as well. Look, I my letterbox. The last 2 years, I've watched over 600 films each year, and I normally aim to watch 70. Well, every three movies I want two of them to be movies I've never seen before.
Hmm.
So I'm actually keeping up with that. Normally, it's around 65 to 70% of new watches. So the
Nice.
last 2 years, I've watched over about 850 films I've never seen before.
Hmm.
And mate, I think like I was saying before, like every time I watch one, I add three or four to my list because I find a new director or
Yep.
a new actor or someone I need to keep delving into. It's weird. Like it's maybe falling in love with Billy Wilder and Howard Hawks, because I'm more of a director than an actor person, you know. So I kind of get into I follow directors more than a performer, or writing even.
Yeah.
So if I see a good writer, I'll follow them. Because the actors will just come along with it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, it's just always digging new holes in the backyard, you know, for new movies to watch, and it's just hard to refill them. It's just very
Exactly.
hard.
As I always say, you watch a movie and then you add like, five new to your like watch list or to your queue. And then, that
Yeah,
queue
yeah,
never ends, never gets any slimmer. It just gets bigger
no,
and bigger and bigger. And it's like,
yeah.
oh my God, like, what should I watch first? And then you have so many, like so much
Oh,
choice. Just so many movies.
the real anxiety. This actually might lead into a hot take, to be
Tell
honest.
me.
But I actually get real anxiety of choosing something to watch sometimes,
Okay.
because I have all this physical media, that stuff that I go, oh, I really want to watch that again. I need to see that again because I loved it so much, and I've only seen it the once or twice maybe. And
Yep.
then I have all these other movies that I've never seen before that I've brought because I've either know the movie's good, I've heard it's really good, it's something that I know I'm interested in, or it's just been really cheap. And I'm like, oh, I can
Yeah.
spend $3 on that and I'll watch it later. So I've got so many of those, and then I sit there and I have all my streaming services, and I'm like, I can't be bothered getting up and putting a disc in, even though it's like literally 2 meters away from me. I've got to change bloody inputs on the TV and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll actually really stress myself out, and I'll just quit, and I'll just say, oh, I'll just put on Seinfeld. I just won't watch anything. But then
Hmm.
halfway through an episode of that, I'm like, I'm really kicking myself because I really want to watch a movie, and then I stress out even more. It's really it's actually kind of too much choice. Is actually really hard to take sometimes,
Yep. Yep.
like a kid in the candy store
Hmm.
sometimes. But often I'll just sit there and I'll scroll through. I'll pick a service that I haven't clicked on this for a while that I'm
Yeah.
paying for. I might as well click on it, and then I'll scroll through and I'll just have to hit play, and I'll hit play on something. And sometimes I'll do that and I'll find some real gems. I'll just go, wow, this was great. And
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
I go, this was shit. But I'm a completist, so I have to watch it to the end because I don't like to finish something halfway. Like
Same.
I have to watch it all. Yeah. Because
Same.
then if I don't watch it all, then I can't log it on Letterboxd. And logging stuff on Letterboxd is like a sport as well. So you've got to finish it so I can log it. And yeah.
You you understand me. We are like spirit animals when it comes to this, and I believe many other like Swiftful people like have that struggle. What I can tell you, what
Mm,
helped me, and I've been practicing this for a while now. So maybe if people would go to how like my rankings and my like diary in on Letterboxd, they might notice a pattern which I try to stick to. But obviously, if I see a movie in a cinema or two movies in a cinema, it breaks. But what I'm trying to do is to watch every like every like one new movie and one old movie. So, and it's like new, old, new,
Mm,
old. And for me, and again, this is not to say 90s are old, no, but I had to draw the line somewhere. So for me, a new movie is anything 2000 above, and any old 1999 below, right? Because again, it's a line. I'm not saying 90s is old. No, it's not, but I had to draw the line somewhere. I could have easily drawn it
yeah,
80s, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. But
yeah,
so
yeah,
I try to stick to that. And also then I try to, as you said, you have several different streaming, subscriptions. Me too. Like I'm paying for like five and also have
yeah.
physical collection now, right? And from the
Mm,
physical collection,
mm,
I have like 230 or so like Blu-rays or 4Ks. And out of those, I haven't seen 60. 60 something movies.
right.
So, and what I try to do, and I look through my letterbox, and I kind of remember like, oh yeah, so yesterday I watched this, and it was on, let's say, Amazon Prime, right? Before that, I watched this movie, and it was on Netflix. Before that, I watched this one, and it was on Mubi, which is a great service for independent movies and like little movies. So, oh, I haven't watched. We have Sky TV here, or like, I have subscription to this kind of Sky TV. So I'm like, okay, so I'll go to the Sky TV and I'll try to find like a new movie because now, like yesterday, I watched an old movie. So today I can watch like a newer
Yeah,
movie.
okay.
And this is what's helped
That's
me
not a
to
bad
narrow
way to
down the
do it.
process of, oh, what should I watch? Because as you say, it is a it's like, it almost gives you an anxiety because there's so much to
Oh,
watch.
big time. I do follow you on Letterboxd, right? I'm just looking you up. I know we follow, I'm sure we follow each other, right?
I believe so. I believe so.
Is it Luke? Is it just your name? Is your handle?
It's
Or
in movies lost. It's
sorry,
that
what is it?
in movies lost. But
As
I'm
in the
pretty
letter
sure
N
in no in. Sorry, it's just my accent coming through.
in movies lost. No, I
I
don't think I do follow you.
really. Oh well, I'll forgive you. It's
Well,
all
I will
good.
fix that. Oh no, I do follow. No, I did say I follow you. Yes.
Like I'm trying to quickly
Yeah,
find
okay.
you. I'm trying to quickly find you, Mister.
It says you're following me, so
Yeah.
that's good.
No,
Lost
it's
in
just
movies. There we go.
here we go. Yes.
There we go. The
Yes.
holdovers. Sorry, we won't talk about that. Yep.
No, no, it's all good. It's all good. So okay, we've gone through some your normal hot takes about life and everything. And so do you have some movie hot takes?
Look, I actually find myself really bad at hot takes. I don't know. I mean,
That's
if
fine.
I was been thinking about this since you sent me the list like a few
Hmm.
days ago. And I don't know if I have any other than the fact that, and I don't even know if it's definitely not a hot take. I'm sure I've heard other people talk about it, but the entire box office system has to change. Like box office, the whole industry has to change the way it thinks about the way it releases movies. So since COVID,
Hmm.
before COVID, a lot of studios you could release a movie and now it's going to be a hit and make 300-400 million dollars. It's really only a few tent poles that type of money now. Like it's not nearly as common as it used to be.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that maybe again, it's not a hot take. A lot of people think it, but I do think the superhero, and it's not just MCU, it's DCU and all the side superhero stuff,
Yep.
TV shows and all. It's just ruined. It's just ruined. It has ruined cinema.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not the only one to think that, especially when you look at old directors like Martin or Quentin or whatever. They all think the same. And I agree with them, though, for the large part, is that modern cinema is dying because of it, especially when you look at independent movies, mid-budget films, like which a mid-budget film's now $80 million, which is crazy.
Hmm.
Um, a low-budget film's $30 million. I mean, that's a lot of fucking money to put into a movie, like 30 mil where you see movies. The only movies that really make money now are horror movies, and even shit horror movies make money. Like especially modern American horrors, which I really am not a fan of in general. There's a few exceptions to that, but when you see movies like Smile and Megan and Malignant and all those, then I mean, there's a couple of good concepts in those, but when
Hmm.
they're making 4 or 5 times their budget, of course you're just going to keep getting sequels to those because they think they're successful.
Hmm.
All it means is people have gone and watched them. Doesn't mean they've liked them necessarily. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes has too much influence
Hmm.
in the cinema system. Again, these aren't hot takes. These are just me repeating other people's opinions, really. But I agree with those opinions. Um, yeah,
If I
yeah, I
can
don't know.
if I can interject, I'll just say,
Yeah,
so the MCU or like the comic book movies, I see what you mean. I would say, like, I think every decade has its own thing. So, for example, if you go back in a movie's history, like, right, like in the 40s, 50s, it was not mostly, but it was kind of like a lot of westerns and a lot of like,
yeah.
this, and this, because that's what those movies, they were made for that kind of audience. And as
Well,
we grown,
mhm,
not grown, there was a smart person someplace in some sort of corporate office that thought of this. Hey, what if we start to market stuff not towards adults but towards kids? Because that's the
yeah.
kids will push the parents to buy them toys, push them to the cinemas and all that. And
Hmm.
everything kind of
Hmm.
started to change towards that and geared towards the kids. And what I think when you say box office like needs to change, I don't think that I agree, but I don't think I think you're going at it from the wrong direction. I think because I actually
Okay.
agree, but I think what needs to change is not the box office. I think what it needs to change is the studios, and let's say, you know, they need to, for every comic book movie, they spend 250 million on, which nobody should spend
Mm-hmm.
200 on a movie.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So for every movie like that, give 20 million, 10, for a big studio, that's peanuts. For us, that's big money, but
Yeah,
for a big studio, fucking
yeah,
10
yeah,
million is
yeah,
peanuts. Give that somebody
yeah,
who actually has an original idea and who can,
yeah.
do something and reap the rewards. This is how big franchises became big franchises, and this is how big or movies became great, and actually like those box office breaking numbers. Because box office breaking numbers, it's easy to break if you're Avengers Endgame, right? You've had like a
Yeah,
hype of 15 years or almost 15 years
yeah,
behind you, and
yeah,
that
yeah.
culminated. But Blair
Hmm.
Witch Project, even though I didn't really enjoy it, there was a reason why it became, or Paranormal Activity. Those movies costed like, they are not even what the Paranormal Activity costed like $200,000. I want to say it's not even a million. It's definitely below a million, and it earned like
Yeah, yeah,
200 million. And that's the key what
yeah.
many
Right.
studios still don't understand. Movies don't have to cost 50 million even, especially if you give it to a beginner filmmaker, or like not beginner, but to sensible filmmakers. Like, yeah, I want to shoot on a location. It's gonna be this and this and this. Trust me on this.
Hmm.
And then just
Yeah,
give me some money to actually promote that stuff, because nowadays it's all about marketing. You can have the best movie ever,
absolutely.
but if it's not marketed well, it's the same with products. You can have the best product ever, but it's not if it's
Hmm.
not marketed well, and if people don't know about it, people will not go
Yeah,
see it. Because like me, like movie, like movie people, we know what's coming out most of the time, right? But the general
yeah,
audience, have they, you know, had they known about Poor Things, or had they known about like many other like for example, Zone of Interest, perfect example.
yeah,
How
yeah,
many people have heard about that movie before now it's 5 Oscar nominations?
yeah, yeah.
It's not to say we are better, like, because we knew. No, no, no. It's not to say that. It's more to say, if you make a great tiny movie, set aside some decent budget to promote that movie. And that's where
Yes,
you
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
actually see, hey, this movie actually made money because we spent a little, but we promoted it a bit. And it actually, like, and I'm sure it's not as easy, and of course, it's not gonna work for every single movie. But I would bet you, if this was a like A24, I think this is what they're trying to do, and this is
Hmm.
why mostly they are succeeding. Like A24, if I remember correctly, was the first or one of the first studios during the strikes where they accepted all the
Yeah.
terms, and they were able to continue shooting
Yes,
movies because they
yes, yeah.
accepted. They were
They
like,
were.
yeah, that sounds
They
sensible.
paid people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I was like, they sound sensible. Well, okay, we signed it. Okay, we can keep on working. Great. And they had like,
yeah.
not every A24 is a, 5 out of 5 movie, but I would much rather have a studio that, is not afraid to take a chance on, hey, this is a starting
Well,
filmmaker, or this is a fucking wild idea that, shouldn't have worked, but you know what? Maybe it will work. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once. A year ago, it was a movie, like when it came out, it was only people into the movies that knew about that movie. And now it's an Oscar-winning movie. Some people are now starting to hate because it's just, weird movie. I'm like,
It's cool
ah,
to hate. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
it's
man, I love to argue with people about hating that movie. There's two things there though.
mhm.
What you're saying, especially with A24, the A24 contract stuff. I think because this new deal is only a 3 year deal. I think the future will be that individual studios will have to make individual deals in how they pay people. I don't think. I mean, SAG is unionized, absolutely, but I think they might have to apply to the unions separately and have their own individual contracts per studio rather than SAG saying this is what you're going to pay us regardless.
Yeah.
But touching back on that box office influence, what I was, I guess, what I was trying to incoherently say is that I think the box office influence has to change in that everything is taken on the opening weekend. If it fails
Yeah.
on its opening weekend, then it's like this film shit, it's failed, blah blah blah. It could go for 10 more weeks and make its money, but that's not looked at. It's the opening weekend every time, and that needs to change. Movies need time to breathe and to be marketed and word of mouth. Some
Yes.
movies need word of mouth to be successful. Matt Damon had a really great idea, and it's another idea I really agree with, is that the Best Picture Oscar should not be awarded until 5 years down the track. Once it's gotten into the zeitgeist of society and people understand what it is, because too many shit movies have been given Best Picture, where 5 years down the track you go, hang on, that movie was crap. This movie should have won.
Mhm.
Saving Private Ryan. I mean, that didn't win over Shakespeare in Love,
Shakespeare.
for
Yeah.
Christ's sake. The Green Book beat Black Klansman. Like, what the actual fuck was that? Like, the
Mhm.
Green Book is actually an offensive movie. Black Klansman was amazing and real, and it actually touched a real nerve. But those type of things where movies get to settle in people's brain, and because sometimes movies take 4 or 5 times for you to appreciate them. Like,
Mhm.
I know my all time favorite movie, 12 Monkeys, took me 5 times watching it because I knew there was something there that I really liked about 12 Monkeys. I love time travel stuff. Thanks Back to the Future for launching that, but just putting that into my head that I love time travel stuff because I do. And then when 12 Monkeys came along, I watched it. I remember watching it in the cinema in the 90s with my mates. I was on edibles and I got high as hell during it, and I just loved it so much. And then I watched it maybe 8, 10 months later when it came out in VHS because yes, I'm that old. And then I brought the VHS and then I own it. And watching it 5 or 6 times I distinctly remember on the fifth time I was watching it, I was like, oh, I get it now. This time travel shit, how the timeline works. I actually get it.
Mhm.
And I've watched it like a dozen times since then or more, right? So that's how it grew to be my favorite movie. But if I'd have just walked out on that first time and never watched it, I thought, yeah, I remember that was a really interesting movie, but I don't need to see it again. Then
Yeah.
I wouldn't have that connection or wouldn't have that relationship I have with that movie. So that's the same with Best Picture. People need to develop relationships with them over time.
Mhm.
You can't. It's rare to walk out of a movie and go, "That's the best thing I've ever seen."
Yeah. Like
It doesn't happen very often.
it's an interesting idea about the Best Picture being awarded 5 years after. I think the only issue with that, they would have to start to do it like retrospectively because it's not like
Yes,
they
they would.
cannot
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
it's not like they
yeah.
cannot have, because we live in this system where we need the instant gratification now.
Immediacy. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's not like
yeah.
they will not, even if let's say they would implement it, it would be hard to imagine, oh, therefore, there is not going to be any Oscar ceremony until 5 years from now. So goodbye. We'll see you in five
Mm.
years. No, that wouldn't
Oh no,
happen.
you can still award all the other awards, like Best Actor, or that can be fine. You can still
Mhm.
award that. Just Best Picture for 2023 will be awarded in 2028, but everything
Okay.
else gets awarded. That's fine. It's just Best Picture.
Would that work? Like, would that, like, because for
No, it
example,
wouldn't. No, it wouldn't work.
because
But
if the
it
argument
just kind of goes
is,
to show.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
if the argument is, like, if the argument is, or we can only, appreciate the movie after some time has passed, couldn't the same be said about the performances? Be like, when we actually, have some time to,
Mm,
so technically,
yeah, I don't know. I think performances is a bit different though.
okay.
I think that's. I think you can walk out of a film knowing that that's a great performance or not. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think a level of performance grows. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever? Can you think of when you've a best actor has won, and then you go, actually, 5 years later, after seeing the films a few times, gone, actually, they should have won best actor. I've never felt that. I've only ever felt it with the best picture.
I feel like it's like I think we getting to the, like, art is, very subjective. We like to pretend it's
Yeah.
objective, but it's actually subjective. So,
No.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
example, right? Like, I'll give you this example. Um, the best actress. race for this year, it's realistically
Hmm.
between Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone, right? Both of
Yes.
both the
Yeah.
Stones, both the Stones, and can I honestly say one is better than the other? I don't like because they are so fucking
I,
great, both of them. So
I haven't seen Poor Things yet.
that's it's a great one.
I was
Like,
supposed to see it today, actually, but yeah,
oh,
yeah, I'll commit to
hopefully
it.
I'm not
But I
keeping you
haven't got
from
time to
seeing
it.
that because if I'm keeping you, I'll
No, no,
stop
no,
it
no,
right
no,
now and you need to watch it.
no, no.
No,
It wouldn't even be on now. No, that's all
no,
good.
but it's no, it's poor things like even through this, despite all the hype I've heard about it, like I actually seeing it, I
Mm.
was like, I was still kind of floored with what Emma Stone is doing
Yeah.
in that movie. And
Okay.
so for me, between those two, I honestly think it's a flip of a coin, meaning I'm not gonna be sad
Mm.
or angry if the other wins. Like if Lily Gladstone wins, great. I'll be rooting for her. I'm gonna be slightly sad for Emma Stone, but the same way the other way around. If Emma Stone wins, I'm gonna be great, like rooting for Emma Stone, but I'm also gonna be sad for Lily Gladstone because both,
Yeah,
are
yeah,
just so
yeah.
fucking great in their respective roles.
When I watched Killers, I was watching Lily Gladstone, and I was like, man, she's all right. Like, I mean, lots of actresses could do what she's doing.
Hmm.
But then as the movie builds and she becomes the heart of this film that actually is she's the beating heart, the
Yes.
hub of this entire film, the way she holds it all together,
Hmm.
then you realize, yeah, she is really damn good, like really, really damn good. And Emma Stone, uh, this might be a hot take for you then.
Okay.
I still think Emma Stone's performance in La La Land is the most deserved Oscar win I've ever known.
Oh,
I've
damn.
never, yeah, I've never. I don't think any other Oscar has been deserved more than Emma Stone in La La Land. She is stupidly amazing in that film.
Hmm.
Like, yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
that's
I
another
like
hot
it. I like
side hot
it.
take.
No, like I also love the story. How do you know how Emma Stone became an actress? How she convinced her parents? Do you know that story?
I think I saw this recently. She might have been telling it on Graham Norton, was she?
Yes. I don't think it was recent. It was like a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. Like because she was promoting
Okay.
some other. Maybe it was La La Land, but basically what it was she knew, she's always known she wanted to be an actress, but
Yeah.
to convince her parents, she apparently made a PowerPoint presentation about
Yes.
why
Yes.
they
That's
should
it.
move to LA so she could
Yes.
become an actor. And yeah,
That's right.
they listened and we got Emma Stone and
How amazing
clever
is that?
parents. Yes.
How amazing her parents just for doing that though. What amazing people just to support your kid like that and go, okay, we'll
But
move. We'll
because
live our entire lives.
Yeah, because you need to also think about this, right? And we know it quite well. Well, or we've heard the stories of for every Emma Stone, there's like 10 of actresses that have the same dream but never go anywhere.
Yes. Yeah,
And this
yeah,
is the thing.
absolutely.
So it's one in a million chance, really. Like you need to have a talent, and she's always, obviously she's talented, right? But there are
Oh,
many
yeah,
talented
yeah.
people who maybe like, they are
Miss
not
out.
that luck. There's an element of luck in that. And I think
Well,
many people would agree, or uh many people who are actually honest with themselves, they would be the first to raise their hand and say, yes, I have a talent, I work hard, but also it's a
mhm,
incredible element of luck. I was in the right place at the right time. I
yeah,
met the right person who
yeah,
will help me set up this meeting, and then it
yeah.
skyrocketed from there. So that's the thing. And to your point
Well,
about the box
this,
office, oh sorry.
yeah. Oh, no, 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 no. Well, sorry. I'll quickly say there was a Formula One analogy is that Michael Schumacher, whether everyone's heard of Michael Schumacher, he was once asked who's the fastest driver he's ever come across, or who do you think your best driver ever is? And he said it's impossible to judge because the best driver who ever lived could be cutting trees in Siberia and has never gotten the chance to get in a car. They
Yeah.
could be easily the quickest person, but we'll never know because they've never gotten the chance of the right opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
just throwing back to what you were saying about
No, and
a
that's
lot of people
exactly
miss out.
correct. No, that's exactly correct.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say just to touch on the box office thing, how you mentioned a
Mhm.
great point, which is nowadays kind of missed out on. That yeah, the opening weekend is all good and well, but the movies should have the chance to breathe and actually make money
Yeah.
past opening weekend. However, like we know it's not the case anymore. Like because if you for many movies, especially if they are not the big blockbusters, if you don't see it like within first week or two, the movie's gone.
Mm.
right? But there are some
Yeah.
exceptions, like I still remember Elemental being, you know,
Oh,
the reports after the first weekend was like, oh, this is a flop, and now it's pretty much broke, even if not made a bit of money because of the longevity it had. The same with The Greatest Showman, a couple of years,
yes. Yeah.
back. And that's an
Word of mouth.
excellent,
It's word
no,
of mouth.
exactly, that's an excellent, what is the word I'm looking for? That's an excellent, doesn't matter.
Point.
Point, I guess. Example, yes, that's excellent example of word of mouth, because when that I still remember when that movie opened, it was like, I don't know, 30 million, and then movie's
Mm.
budget was like 100 something. So it's a, if you know anything about movie business, there's a rough formula where the movie, you take the
Mm.
budget, and the movie needs to make 2.5 times roughly to break even, not to make money, to break even, and then you start making
Yeah.
money again, roughly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, so if on 100 million or so budget of Greatest Showman, that was a big flop. However, however, that movie, as you said, word of mouth spread out, and people actually love musicals, right? And people love Hugh
Yeah. Yeah.
Jackman.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kept making 30 or so million every fucking weekend, or every fucking week,
Yeah.
and for like, I want to say like 3, 4 months. It was unprecedented. And
Wow.
now, if you look it up, I'm pretty sure it's around 500, 600 million that movie made. So it went from, oh, this movie flopped so hard, to, hey, this movie actually made a lot of money and nobody expected that.
The thing about musicals like that is that they're kind of family affairs, but they're
Hmm.
also something that people will go back and watch because they like the music so much. Like I
Exactly.
didn't go much on The Greatest Showman. I thought it was, and people say that's one of the best soundtracks of all time. So people are going back mainly possibly to listen to the music.
Yeah, yeah,
Pardon me.
100%. No,
Yeah.
100%. And as much as we can have a talk about how the real person behind, who Hugh
Mm,
Jackman is
mm,
portraying was a very bad person, and he was,
uh-huh.
like, historically,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was not a great figure whatsoever. However, we need to separate it from the movie, and the movie is actually charming, and the music is excellent. Like, even though I wouldn't, like, it's not my favorite musical, I like, it's probably, like, from modern musicals, it must be up there. Like, and it's just because the music is so excellent, and the songs are great. There are like several different
Yeah.
songs I can name right now, and I cannot do it for many other
Right.
musicals of like a recent era at least. But anyway. We can, unless you have any other hot takes.
I'm going to give you one more because I'm
Tell
just
me.
on the Oscars theme.
Okay.
The most undeserved Oscar of all time. I just gave you who the most undeserved Oscar of all time, and I can't look at this actor the same way. I actually don't like him as an actor because he won Best Actor. Um, was Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody? It
Okay.
drives me crazy. I hate that movie with a passion. I think it's a disgusting movie. It's actually profiled on my Letterboxd if anyone wants to check it out. My actual feelings about it. But I just when I see he won for that performance, which is it's not a great performance. It's okay. Like he's
Hmm.
fine. He did not deserve it over Bradley Cooper that year. Bradley Cooper was robbed twice in that Oscars. But then the next year when Rocket Man came out and Taron Egerton shits all over Rami Malek, sings the songs as well. He's a brilliant performance, a brilliant movie. Rocket Man is a 10 times better movie than Bohemian Rhapsody could ever hope to be.
Hmm.
But this is one of those luck things and word of mouth and marketing things where they win. Rocketman gets in basically nothing and hardly any award recognition. It's it's yeah, it's just a gross movie. It's a gross movie,
I
and
was gonna say, so you keep using like a words like gross or disgusting. Can you elaborate why is it gross or disgusting, like Bohemian Rhapsody?
um because it's I think it's really unfair on Freddie Mercury. It's really like he's dead. He can't speak for himself.
Okay.
This movie was made very much with the existing band members
Yeah.
were say they were very involved in it. They come off squeaky clean, like they are glossy, great people, no done nothing wrong in their
Hmm.
entire existence in this band. And then Freddie's like he's a slut, he's a junkie, he's a he's a narcissist. He treats people like shit in the end, and blah blah blah. Where they're just the bandmates backing him up and just being the ones like waiting for him in the studio. And having arguments over this and that. And it's like, no, dude, you just ripped into this guy. He can't defend himself. I think that's why I think it's gross. It's just completely unfair to the legacy of Freddie Mercury.
Hmm.
Why these guys just get off scot free? You can't tell me they didn't cheat, they didn't sleep around on their partners, they didn't do drugs, and they didn't do just despicable things because that's what rock people did in the 80s, right? They just
Yeah.
did shit.
Mhm.
They had fun.
Yeah.
So that's what I really don't like about it. It's a really badly misrepresented movie
You
of
know,
all of those characters.
yeah. You know what I would love to see? I don't know if you remember, but this movie has been in like a development hell for ages, and for a lot of it, Sacha Baron Cohen was, attached
Yes.
to portray Freddie Mercury. And do
Yeah.
you remember the reason he backed out and he declined at the end?
Well, didn't they just have a disagreement on the way he wanted to portray Freddie? Like he wanted it
Yes.
to be
Not only
realistic, I
that,
guess.
he said the movie he signed on, to do was much darker and was much more, not
Yeah.
even harsher, but much more like truthful portrayal of Freddie
Mm,
Mercury as a person. So,
hmm.
from what I understand, again, I'm not a part of Hollywood, so I wasn't in the room, but from the stories I've heard and read, that portrayal of Sacha Baron Cohen, what he signed up for this movie, it would be even more darker. It would be even more like about Freddie and like how he was and how he had his issues. But again, he wasn't like a perfect person, but which is fine. Nobody is perfect.
Mm,
So from what I'm led to believe, what we've gotten, the Bohemian Rhapsody we've gotten with Rami Malek, is quite sanitized version of that.
yeah,
And
it's very glossy. Yeah.
yeah, so I would love to see in a like in a like some sort of alternative universe that movie and him portraying Freddie Mercury, because when I first learned that, and I'm pretty sure it was like back even 2013, because it's been in this development hell for ages, I remember. And I was like, Sacha Baron Cohen playing Freddie Mercury. Like, yes, sign me the fuck
Oh,
up.
that would
Because
be
I was like,
amazing.
that would
Yeah,
be like, and
yeah,
I didn't mind Rami Malek, but I understand where you're coming from. I do understand like where you're coming from. So, okay, okay.
yeah. He's not. That's the thing. He's not particularly bad.
Mhm.
He's not bad.
Yeah,
I just don't think he deserves an Oscar. I
that's
just think,
fair.
especially over Bradley Cooper. But
Hmm.
Bradley Cooper is so fucking great. Star is Born. Like,
Hmm.
he's a yeah. Anyway,
No, it's
yeah.
fine. That's
I've,
fine. That's fine.
yeah. No, it's
So,
okay. I won't finish that thought.
nah, it's alright. So, shall we move on to the underrated section of this podcast?
Yeah,
All
absolutely. Let's do
right.
it.
So if I ask you, Adam, who do you think is the most underrated actor we have right now?
Yeah, these are actually really hard for me to answer, to be
Mhm,
honest. Every time I thought of someone underrated, I kept thinking, well, I think it's people overrated because depends on the circle, depends on the circles you're in or who you talk
mhm,
to, whether you consider someone underrated or not. But the
mhm,
first one that come to my mind for an actor, and I love him. Daniel Radcliffe. I love Daniel Radcliffe, especially since the Harry Potter days. The choices he makes and how good he actually is. Like he's really underrated and how good of a performer he is. Um, as Weird Al, he was so great as Weird Al.
mhm,
And if that wasn't, I don't know how he didn't get Emmy nominations. I don't think he did anyway. He should have got nominations for TV
mhm,
movie or something in there. I watched Jungle the other day. Jungle's a pretty good movie, but he's fantastic in that.
mhm.
You got Guns Akimbo. Like this, he just has fun, and he is really good at what he does. I look out for anything he's doing.
Yeah.
And I've still got a few of his I need to watch. Actually, I haven't seen before, so I
You
really
know
like
what
him.
is, really fascinating to me? So yesterday I was talking to Alice, also from Australia, and she
Oh,
mentioned Daniel Radcliffe also.
for
So
real? Did she really?
What are the chances?
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And totally agree. Like his what I said yesterday still applies. His choices after Harry Potter, I strongly
Mm.
believe he must have had some like MCU offers or joined other big franchises, and
Oh yeah,
he just
yeah.
like no, he's just like you know what? No, I'm gonna do this indie movie about fart and where I'm playing the farting corpse in the Swiss Army Man,
Yes, yes, of course,
which is a
Swiss Army
great
Man. Yeah, yeah.
movie. It's a great
Yeah, it
movie.
is. It is.
Or like or horns. Or Alice mentioned the movie I haven't seen, but apparently What If is amazing. So I haven't
Oh, What
seen
If
that.
is good. Adam Driver. Yeah, What If
Mm-hmm.
is really good.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and this is the reason I'm doing this to get even more movies recommended to me so I can, add more to my ever-growing queue. So, hey, that works out well. So, who do you think
Yeah,
is
that
the
was
most
cool.
underrated actress?
This is a really hard one for me. I actually have a few answers, but it depends again what I said about the circles you hang in. Because my first one, she's actually an Oscar nominated actress. So everyone I thought of is
Mm-hmm.
like, does that mean you're underrated? But I think Naomi Watts doesn't get the credit she deserves, Oscar nominated or not. Naomi Watts is fabulous. She's
I'm pretty
just,
sure she won an Oscar now, no?
no, she didn't win it. She hasn't won an Oscar. No,
Really?
no.
Am I
She's
wrong?
definitely been nominated.
I thought she took it for 21 gram. I might be wrong. I'm checking myself right now. I'm checking myself right now.
21 grams, you reckon? Jeez, did
Oh
that
no, she
movie,
was nominated.
surely that,
No, I thought she was an Oscar winner. She was nominated for The Impossible and for the 21
yeah,
grams. Yes, she was nominated for that movie, but she didn't win. You are correct, sir. Yes. In that
yeah.
case, yes, no, underrated. Yes, underrated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's made some killer movies. Like, again, it's hard to say she's underrated with two Oscar nominations, right? But she's just, I mean, nowadays she's not. I don't know if it's her, but she doesn't seem to be front and center on an A list anymore, even though
Hmm.
she should be. Like, she's still. Look, I don't know if it's back in the day, like I had a crush on her or not, but she's still a very attractive woman.
Hmm.
And it's weird to me that she's not making those movies at that age, especially when you see she's in around, I don't know, someone like Julianne Moore, Annette Bening, those
Yeah.
women of an older age are still getting good roles, and which
Hmm.
is awesome to see. But I want to see her really back up there in the limelight again. Um, Another one I had, who again is multiple Oscar nominated,
Hmm.
who should win one day. She's the female Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, is Amy Adams.
Yes.
Maybe not underrated, but maybe she is because I don't hear many people talking about how good she actually is.
And she
But
also
yeah, I
seems to
think
have
she's
taken like a
fantastic.
break a few like for like a year or so. So like she's not in the
Yeah,
spotlight anymore, where she,
yeah,
because there was a period of time from like 2010 to like 2016, 17 where it seemed like
mm.
every single year she was like nominated or at least like in a big movie that year. And
I think
she
once you get to a
Mhm.
certain status and income,
Yeah.
then you can afford to take those breaks. So,
No,
but it's
which
very hard to get back in, right?
Yeah. No, which good for her. And also, that was one of the biggest travesties of 2017 Oscars because it's for 2016. Her not
Hmm.
being nominated for Arrival. Like everybody was counting with her
Oh
being
yes.
there. I still remember
Oh
that. Like everybody was counting with, oh yeah,
yeah.
Amy Adams is that's a shoe in. She needs to be
She's a
nominated for
lot.
Arrival. And then she's not
Yeah,
there. And everybody was like, what the actual fuck? Have they like and
yeah.
Arrival was nominated for several awards if I'm not mistaken. So I'm like, they watched it. Like, what do they have against Amy Adams? Like, how
It's
crazy is that?
hey man, what do they have against Margot Robbie? Like
Well,
she's been nominated for stuff, and she's
yeah, that's
yeah. Anyway, that's
no,
another conversation that everyone's already having.
that's fine. And also to your point about Naomi Watts, she is in one of my favorite movies of all time, Mulholland Drive, and that's when
Oh
she
yes.
turned me into like me becoming like super huge fan of hers because what she does in the
Mm,
Mulholland Drive is
mm,
just out of this world. The audition
yeah.
scene particularly, like I've just rewatched it the other month and in a nice 4K transfer. Strongly recommend if you're
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that
yeah.
movie. The
I've got that.
4K is
Yeah.
crisp, nice, sharp, vivid, lovely.
Hmm.
But the audition scene specifically is where, when I watched it for the first time, I didn't really know Naomi Watts. And after this movie, I'm like, who is this girl? And she must be one of the best actresses around because like the audition scene because before that we see her this like tame, smiley, giggly, almost dumb, I want to say like a blonde who just came to this country to act and oh, it's gonna be all great and she's like this bubbly person and then she turns it around on you and obviously the second part of the movie happens where I'm not gonna get into many spoilers for this movie because I hope people who
Mm,
haven't seen it they should experience for the first time as untouched as possible. Something
yep.
happens to her character and she does a complete 180 and it's fascinating to watch and I cannot believe when I just checked she wasn't nominated for Mulholland Drive. That's also
It's
another heresy.
yeah. Look,
Like,
the Academy has a strong history of missing people out who deserve it and putting people in who are marketed.
yep.
Honestly, marketed well. Yeah, I don't know who's marketing nowadays, but because Harvey Weinstein's not, but
Hmm.
someone's doing some evil marketing out there to get some of these things in. It's strange.
It's all a business. Call it show, and that's what it is. It's the end of the day. That's what we remember. We need to remember. As much as we would love to know, or as much we would love to think Oscars, should be the sign of some sort of quality and recognition. There's a lot of behind the scenes, like I've heard of. And it's like, yeah, it's all about who's gonna donate to this person, who's gonna donate to this person and that person, and then yeah,
Yeah,
it is that. It's just the business, and that's how it's played. And it's been like that for ages. So it's nothing new.
it's kind of
But
bonkers. Yeah.
yeah, it is. It is. Anyway, let's move to the who do you think is the most underrated director we have right now?
Well, this one's probably more of an underseen director, uh,
Okay.
but maybe underrated because she is underseen in, I would say, the circles I hang in, the Western side of things. This French director Celine Sciamma. She's also a writer. I'm not sure if you've heard of her. She did
Portrait of the Lady of
Petite
Fire.
Maman. Yeah. Yep.
I have. And
Yes.
I actually watched Petit Maman. Yep, I've seen that too. Yes.
Yeah, I've not seen anything she's been involved in,
Mm-hmm.
and that includes directing or writing. That hasn't been amazing,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely amazing. I don't know. She wrote. I don't know if you've seen My Life as a Zucchini or Courgette, which depends where
Yes.
you're from. That that's just a beautiful stop motion. That's just
It's
everything
so
she's
awesome.
seriously everything I've seen her put her hand to is just astonishing. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Paris 13th District is one of those ones that no one talks about. That's a spectacularly brave film. I think it's just, it's, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot, looking at her list now, there's a lot that I haven't seen, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I really love her work. I'm going to mention one more, though, because he's one of my favorite directors that no one talks about or knows about, but I guarantee you've seen his movies. Is Joe Dante.
Oh yes.
Um, yeah, so I've actually got two of his movies in my all-time top 20 because he's just on my. He seems to get me, Joe Dante. Like he's such a cheeky, funny director. He's really tongue in cheek, and but he's also really what's the word? I don't know. He's just kind of a bit of a piss taker the way he makes
Okay.
movies. Like he's having a lot of fun. You see movies like he's got Gremlins, The Burbs is one of my all-time favorite movies,
Mm-hmm.
and even things like Small Soldiers, Gremlins 2, which is look, I have a new appreciation for since reading up about it, like the way and why that movie was made, because it is an absolute, objectively terrible movie, but it was made deliberately like that, like the Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah.
But Joe Dante, you need to check more if you need. He did Piranha. He's done some. He's from the Roger Corman school, so he did some early B grade horror movies, but they're
Yeah.
all great. The Howling is fantastic. It's just this stupid werewolf movie that's just hilarious for
Mm-hmm.
no reason. Yeah, I love Joe Dante.
I have
He
seen a
has my
couple of
number.
his movies. Yeah, I can tell. I've seen a couple of his movies, but it's one of those directors I need to get more or better acquainted with because yeah, like
Mm,
haven't seen many of his like that should be like the top tier of his filmography. But again, that's the cinephile journey. You need to go on it, and you need to every day
yeah,
you discover somebody new, and it's like, all right, let me check out
yeah.
this person and what they've done.
Oh, it, if I recommend anything, you need to see The Burbs,
Okay.
and watch The Burbs on a dark, rainy night, and it'll just blow you. It's just
Okay.
funny and stupid.
Will do. No, will do. Will do.
Yeah. So,
And all right. All right. So I know this one is tough because obviously there's so many movies, but do you have one or two that
mm,
stick out to you as the, like underrated movies to you? Who Adam would say this is a very underrated movie. Everybody should watch it or rewatch it.
um, I thought of one. Oh well, I thought
Mhm.
of two, and I just talked about The Burbs, but I'm not going to talk about The Burbs. I'm going to talk about John Patrick Shanley. Is that him? I watched one of his movies today. Well, God damn it, my mind is escaping me.
Okay.
What did I see today?
You take your time, sir. Okay. You
Uh,
take as
I'm
as much
just
time as you need.
uh, let's go home to my thing. I watched today
Mm-hmm.
Moonstruck. Watched Moonstruck today, but that's not the movie I'm talking about. John Patrick Stanley wrote this movie, but the movie I want everyone to see of his is Joe versus the Volcano, because he also wrote Doubt. I don't know if you know
Mm.
Doubt with Seymour Hoffman and Amy
Yes.
Adams, Meryl
Yes.
Streep. But Joe vs. the Volcano is the most underrated movie of all time. It is so incredibly clever, a bit ahead of its time. And Meg Ryan's best performance of all time. Like, it's easily Meg Ryan's best role. She plays three different characters. She's brilliant as each one of them. Tom Hanks is just being comedic Tom Hanks, one of his last comedic roles. The whole final act scene at the volcano, strange enough, is just damn hilarious. Thank you, Abe Vigoda. It is just, I don't know. It's one of those things that just smacks me in the face, and I just love it from the very get go, from the very start, where these people are drudging into work in this shitty, dimly lit, horribly fluorescently lit office. It's a
Mm-hmm.
miserable job, a miserable life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this guy's story is about. Like, he just has this stupid invented brain disease called a brain fog, I think. But it's just so darkly funny. It's one of the most
Okay.
darkly funny films I've ever seen. Yeah, it's so great.
I see. This is the thing. I've heard of this movie, but I never know, like, I never knew like what to thought of it. I never watched it. I need to watch it because I think you're the second person who has t talked about this movie like in a couple of months. So and
Yeah,
now it will stick with me. And I'm like, all right, next time I'll if it streams someplace, I might watch it today because I'm looking for
I hope
something
you
like
can find it. One
no
of
like
my because
mhm,
I honestly thought I was the only person in the world that liked it, and then I think you might be listening to Aaron, the shift father, the grandfather,
mhm.
because he was talking about it, and then he spoke highly of it in one of the podcasts. It might have been Recotopia actually,
That's
that he was talking
correct.
about it. And I'm like, and I was just hearing him talk about it. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever heard. Someone else likes this movie. And it's Aaron, who I respect a lot of his movie opinions. And um, yeah, and then I actually watched it the next day because I was reminded of it and had to watch it. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
correct.
aged really well. Most people would tell you,
It
yeah,
was Dicer, yeah.
most people would tell you it was terrible. Like, honestly,
Mhm.
most people would say it was a shit movie. And for its time, people didn't understand it. But now it is aged so well.
Mhm.
Absolutely recommend. Yeah,
And
that's a
again,
strong recommend from me.
we've seen it all throughout the history. Like one of the famous examples is Blade Runner, right? Because of
Yeah, yeah,
obviously
yeah, yeah.
like there was like a horrible theatrical cut, so it didn't land with pretty much nobody. Like it flopped at the box office, and then it started to amass like a cult following. Then there came director's cut, then came final cut, and just yeah, and now it's
Yeah.
respected as one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. So it is,
It helps with it helps with that argument about Best Picture being delayed,
y-
Best Picture winner being delayed. Like, it
actually,
does
yeah,
help.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does. And what about some TV shows you would say it's underrated?
I'm going to give you two. One actually harkens back to my Daniel Radcliffe underrated actor, Miracle Workers. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that with Steve Buscemi and
No, I have not.
Geraldine Viswanathan.
Okay.
Man, it is 4 seasons of it. I don't think we'll get a fifth, but it's an anthology series, so each season is set in a different time period.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're just darkly funny, or even outright funny, just
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. Radcliffe is awesome. There's an Australian. You would have heard of Geraldine Viswanathan, I'm sure. You would have seen her anyway. She's been in quite a few things.
I
She's
think so.
great in it. Yeah, she's just they're both like they're the love interest in each season with each other, and um, yeah, it's just such a fabulous show. And
Mm-hmm.
there's one other was actually on the same network, TBS in America, called Wrecked. It was cut short after 3 seasons, but it's kind of like a satire on Lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's a comedy series. Basically, these people get trapped, will get shipwrecked on an island. Not shipwrecked, but their plane crashes on an island. So it's kind of like a funny version of Lost, and it's really good. It's really funny, and it ends on this cliffhanger. There you go, oh, shit, and then it doesn't come back, and it's really hard to find to actually to actually watch or buy anywhere, to be honest. So, but yeah,
Okay.
highly recommend that too if you can find it. Actually, stars Zach Kreger, who wrote and directed Barbarian last year, or 2022 now, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
the horror movie. Yeah, which I thought was strange, but
Mm-hmm.
comedy guys seem to write horror really well.
Yeah, it seems to be a pattern, isn't it? Like, obviously Jordan Peele is a great example. Even
Krasinski,
Krasinski, yep, Krasinski is a great,
yeah,
so there seems to be some sort of link there where they can tap into something.
comedy,
Yeah, like, they
comedy and
were,
horror are
yeah.
bedfellows, right?
No, that's all right. Okay, if I see it, I'll think of you. I'll be like, all right, Adam was talking about this. Let me
Mm.
check it out. So I've been asking you, questions for 2 hours now. So let's turn the tables. Do you have any questions for me?
Um, yeah, I've got one because you mentioned
Hmm.
it before, and I can't remember the number you said, but I have a like this morbid fascination with people's physical media collections.
Okay.
I collect physical media myself, and I was just you said a number before. I wasn't sure what the number you said was. How many you have,
How many I have
and
currently?
basically how many you have. Tell me about your collection. Your
Okay.
favorites. Your yeah.
I can tell you actually right now, like precisely. So currently, I'm on 232 movies. Like I actually own,
Okay.
like on a either Blu-ray and I'm a bit of a statistics guy as well. So I actually have it
Mm-hmm.
split between 4Ks and Blu-rays. So out of
Yep.
those, 104 are 4Ks, 224 are Blu-rays. Because like I don't know if it's the same in Australia, but many times when you buy a 4K movie, you get a Blu-ray copy of that, right?
Yes. Often. More often than not. To be
Yes.
honest. Yeah.
Some of them, yeah, and some of them I only have Blu-rays. So like for example, I bought the entire James Bond collection, and my girlfriend and
Ooh,
we are watching every single James Bond, like in order. So now the next one on our
nice.
list is A View to Kill, if I'm remember it correctly. So we are almost done with Roger Moore era. And so that's only on
Yeah.
Blu-ray.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
others, like my philosophy is basic about collecting because I've always wanted to collect, Blu-rays and 4Ks. Like the moment I actually own a flat. And now like I managed to buy a flat almost, well, now it's gonna be second year this October.
Oh, good.
So I have a shelf
In this
and
economy, well done.
I know. I am proud of myself. No, it was tough,
Mm,
but I eventually
should
got
be hang
there.
on to it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like and I knew, okay, I have something so like I can start building. So I bought a very nice like 4K player and
Nice.
started to and my philosophy is first let me buy the stuff I actually love. So again, like Mulholland Drive
Yeah.
4K, like
Yep.
Blade Runner, I have the final cut. There's many
Yeah.
others
Same.
like and then I bought many movies I have not seen yet, but I heard like great things. So for example, like the
Yeah.
James
Yeah.
Bond movies, like I was like I need to finish those movies based on Foster's recommendation because on Franchise Party, so he's always, hyping up the, Chucky franchise and
Yes, yeah.
the
Yeah.
and the Child's Play, it's only streaming on like all across all my five different streaming services I pay for. It's only like the first and maybe the second one I've seen someplace, and the rest of
Yeah.
it, no, you shit out of luck. So I stumble upon a seven Blu-ray collection of all the Chucky movies for like 20
Yes.
pounds,
Oh
which
wow.
great, that's
Wow.
a great price for seven movies. So I was like, I'm buying it. And I
Yeah.
sent a picture to Foster on our Slack channel. I'm like, this better be worth it.
Yeah. I sent
But
him one too because they're releasing them all in 4K. I think it was a big box set coming. It was more than £20 though.
mhm. See,
Yeah.
to me, like I used to, okay, so when I started collecting, and you might tell me your strategy or your philosophy about this, but I try to stick with 4K first, right? So anything I can get in
Hmm.
my hands on, it better be 4K. However, I've kind
Right.
of changed, and I'll say this. As long as it's not like effects heavy movie where or like a newer movie where I think I would appreciate the 4K better on my nice 4K TV. Uh, like I don't mind watching the like older stuff, like Blu-ray quality, because the Blu-ray quality is mostly restored well as it is. And for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
if it's like a drama, if it's like a courtroom drama, like all the President's Men, right? I don't think I would gain any
Mm.
extra watching that in a 4K than I would watching it in a Blu-ray, because Blu-ray is good
Yep.
enough. And it's not an effects
Yep.
heavy movie, it's a drama. So I feel like even like, so to me that's my kind of strategy. So if it can be purchased in 4K and there is a reason, like Jurassic Park, I would love to get it. I
Hmm.
need to get it in 4K. Or like the Matrix. My girlfriend, lovely
Yeah.
girlfriend, she bought me the Matrix trilogy on 4Ks. So because
Nice.
again, effects heavy movie, probably the 4K better pay the price, better should, would be worth it. So but I don't know, like, what's your strategy about buying 4Ks and Blu-rays? Like, do you have any kind of cutoff for that?
Um, yeah, look, there's a lot of different caveats for me. Like just sometimes, just to lead on from what you finished off with, that sometimes with older movies,
Hmm.
um, it pays just to keep the Blu-ray because 4K will bring out the negative impacts of some of those digital effects from especially the late 90s and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, but in saying that, I don't think the Matrix is one of those. I have the Matrix on 4K and digital, but I have them all on Blu-ray. Except that I have the so what before I started collecting physical, I was getting into buying. When I was a bit more broke, I was just buying them digitally on iTunes because they're cheaper,
Yeah.
and you get them in 4K like $5. I thought, okay, sweet, I'll do that. That's not a problem. But since I brought a 4K player, and I regret not buying it years earlier, but my collection has grown in about 18 months, like 800 movies. I catalogued mine in a spreadsheet. I had about 300 movies and some DVDs. Now I'm up to 1,122 movies as I sit here.
Wow.
In about
Nice.
18, yeah, I'm running out of shelves. I reorganized my shelves just so I'm like, shit, I need so much more space. Um, and I don't want to have to buy more shelves. It's horrible. And I've got all these duplicates because when I'll upgrade a DVD to Blu-ray or 4K if I see it
Hmm.
cheaper. So my strategy is, yeah, I prefer the 4K, but when the movie doesn't demand 4K, like you said, if it's just like a drama, you
Yeah.
don't need 4K
Yeah.
unless you can get it cheap. So
Hmm.
more 4Ks will be on newer movies that you can only really get in 4K, like new releases. Like I brought the Color Purple a while back because it just was released and it's in 4K. There's no Blu-ray, and I was like, I should check that out. It's Steven Spielberg, add that to my collection. Blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like the big effects heavy movies, even movies I don't think are spectacular, I'll still buy them in 4K because it's something I want to watch again. Like a movie like Uncharted, for example, that come out with the Tom Holland,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg one. Like I watched that and I thought, yeah, it's okay, it's fun, but it's something when I watch it, I was like, oh, I want to watch it again one day. So I've got the 4K when I saw it cheap, and
Hmm.
just things like that. That's kind of and mine will just. I'll sit here in bed some nights and I'll just be watching a sitcom, but I'll also be browsing my phone on any bargains I can buy, like
Yeah.
physical media or whatever. And it's just,
Same.
oh shit, I can't not buy that.
Same. But what
I,
I'll
I
say
imported
about
the
the
Cornetto.
sorry, on you go.
No, you go, you go. Okay.
What I was gonna say about the iTunes, and how you used to buy like digital mostly. Just,
Mm.
you are probably aware of it because many people are more than ever. But, just make sure, you don't actually own this on iTunes or Amazon
Yes,
Prime.
yeah, no,
And
I
that's
realize.
the
Yeah,
many
yeah,
people when they're like, oh yeah, I'll just buy this movie. I'll just,
yeah.
own it and I'll stream it anytime I want. Well, technically, again, and many people are still surprised by
Well,
this. You technically buy it, but technically don't. So the moment they take it off,
yes,
yeah, that's it. You lost it. So if you genuinely want to own a movie, your favorite movie or movies, the
you need the
real
physical.
only physical is the only way to go. And also,
Yeah.
as we've talked about, the inflation and everything's going up, streaming services are
Hmm.
just,
Yeah.
introducing ads and going,
Yes.
and raising prices.
Yeah.
So, there might be a reason. There might be a future for me where I'm like, like several years down the road, I have so many things to watch on my physical media where I'll just, say, you
Hmm.
know what? Netflix, bye bye. Amazon Prime, bye bye. Again, for
Yeah.
now, still fairly okay. But just, I can see the future, especially if they're gonna introduce ads and they make me pay for, even though I'm already paying for example, Prime, because that was a big thing, isn't it?
Mm.
Amazon Prime,
Mm.
you already paid for Prime, and oh, surprise, motherfucker. If you don't want to watch ads, you pay us extra on top of the Prime you're already paying for. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what's the point of the Prime? Like,
Yeah. It's not
unfortunately,
Prime anymore, is it?
yeah, and unfortunately, you know, Netflix have when they, it succeeded. For example, in
Yeah.
Spain, they lost like 5 million accounts, but in America,
Wow.
they've gained like 5, 6
Right.
million new accounts. So
Wow.
overall, it unfortunately it works. So that's why many people, and this is how it always starts. One company
Yeah.
does something, and the others are like patiently around the corner, kind of like peeping,
Well,
like, will it work? Will it work? Can we do this too? Can we do this too? And yes, and it did work. And unfortunately now you see it, oh, we're introducing ads.
yep. Well, in Australia, we with Amazon, we aren't getting the ad tier, but our annual subscription raised by $20.
Hmm.
With Disney, my annual subscription renews in like a couple of days. But we got an email saying that they're going to tiered level subscriptions from March, I think. So they're going to introduce ads and blah blah blah. So,
Yeah.
but I pay annually, so I'll be right for a year. And one thing, so with Netflix, I'll only get Netflix for 2 months at a time, and then I'll cancel it because Netflix is really expensive, especially if you want 4K.
Hmm.
So I'll just get rid of that at a time and watch stuff when something new comes out that I want to see. So
Yeah.
and then maybe keep it for a bit and just keep catching up. And but what that does is that I'll go, I've only got Netflix for this time, so I have to watch all Netflix, and then I kind of abandon all my other services, right? And then I don't get my money worth out of those. So um, and then it's when you're talking about the digital movies, like when I buy them, I get them on iTunes, and I think that iTunes is pretty safe. It's like the premier
Hmm.
site in the world. I'd rather buy from there than Amazon or any
Yeah.
other digital service. But I also buy them when they're $5. I don't pay full price for these movies. It's like years later so you can either rent them for $4.99 or buy them for $4.99. So well, I'm going, I might as well just buy it, and if I like it, I can watch it again down the track and listen to the collection. But I've actually started converting a lot of my digitals into physical
Yeah.
copies as well. So where I can and where I can afford to, or where I go, well, I want that in physical really bad. So there's a lot of those old classic movies that I love that you can't do that with. So there's actually quite a few of those old 40s and 50s movies that I do have on digital. So
Hmm.
it's just a matter of needs, and it is a last resort for me to buy the digital version. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, yeah. Like, look, again, I wasn't judging you for buying digital. Just, many people
no,
like
no, no,
not
no. I
at
didn't think
all.
you were. No,
No, no, just
no, I
many
didn't think you were.
people. I still am hearing stories of people who kind of like, go to Amazon, buy this movie or that movie, and then and thinking, oh, I own this now. And then a
Mm,
couple of months later, a couple of years later, they are looking for it, and it's like, wait, what? But I bought it. And then
gets
they read
removed.
terms
Yeah.
and conditions where it actually states,
Mhm.
technically you're not buying it. Technically you're buying the right to play it anytime you want, but we
Yes.
reserve the right to remove it at any point. And it's like, I see.
Well, Sony actually sent an email to all of their people and said that I think it's in America, it might be in Australia too, but everything they've purchased from Discovery, which is Warner Discovery, has
Hmm.
gone. Like you're losing access to this, and people are like, "What the hell? You can't do this." Blah blah blah, and all this physical media owners are just in there laughing, like,
Yeah.
"Yep, this is why you need to buy physical media because if you want to keep it forever, you need to own an actual copy of the shit."
Or
Um,
or
yeah.
turn into a pirate. Like turn into because that
Yes.
what
Yeah.
many streamers seem to have forgotten quite quickly, or many companies seem to have forgotten quite
Yes.
quickly, is the reason Netflix became so popular is because it was much cheaper and much more hassle-free to actually, pay for like when it started was like what, $5, something like that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
to pirate it. So many people have turned away from pirating for, 10 years or
Yes.
so. And now
Everyone's going
I can
back.
see a wave, yeah, I am seeing a wave of people discussing, hey,
Uh-huh.
I've never pirated before. How do I do this again? Or investing into
Yes.
their like NAS, which is like a hard drive system, where you can store
Hmm.
anything and everything, including
Yeah.
movies, and how to play them well, how to play in TV shows. And like, look, I do not condone piracy, but also, if I'm
You
paying
can
for five
understand it.
services, if I'm paying for five
Yeah.
services, and like this particular movie is not there just because of like, oh, we don't have a license with the UK or something like that, which shouldn't be the case anymore in 2024, for
Mm.
fuck's sake. Like like
Yeah.
I know there are laws and copyrights, and I understand it's more difficult than that, but in the same time, we've created this system. Therefore, we can change this system. It will be a lot of work, yes, but it can be done. Same as release schedules, like I was discussing it on the Sift Pops, right? The review roundup. I didn't get
Oh
the
yeah.
chance to see Poor Things or Color
Hmm.
Purple. Two, like especially Color Purple is a massive movie with like massive budget, and I didn't
Yeah.
get to see it in December because reasons. The UK distributors have decided, oh no, this will open here 26th of January rather than 26th of like
Yeah.
December. And it's a big
Australia's the same.
movie. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's a big,
Yeah.
like I understand maybe some indie movie. Like, okay, even though it shouldn't be the case, but okay. But like big blockbuster like that, like Color Purple, which it was, and it is. It's just maddening to me. It is maddening. And same, like obviously I have my issues, but I've been following, especially through you and Alice, how Australia is being dunked on recently, and how you guys are,
It's,
no longer have like physical media from Disney and stuff
yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
They got rid of that. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was the last Disney physical media.
Hmm.
I actually went. I mean, I had been collecting, even though I have Disney Plus, I've been collecting the Disney stuff I've wanted, like on 4K actually, a lot of the Pixar
Yeah.
and what have you. So I own what I want to own with all that, which is a lot. But Titanic didn't come out in Australia. I had to import that, so I import my stuff from the UK
Hmm.
mostly because Blu-ray is the same region, 4K is region three, obviously. So
Yeah.
it's not very often I get a 4K from America either because the import, it's just the cost. So
And it's the
I
only
mean, I had to
thing
get
that's the only thing that 4K not the only thing, but the great thing about 4K, it's there's no region codes. There's no regions
yeah.
for 4K
There are
movies.
some there are actually some that have region codes. Like there's actually a
Really?
list on Blu-ray.com. Yeah, that's a rule. It's a handful. It's not many, but I'm in a couple of forums and they go,
Hmm.
"Why is this got a region code?" But there's actually a list of some that do. In Australia, what we get, because I refuse to buy DVDs. I'll only buy a DVD if it's a TV show,
Hmm.
and even then, if it's on Blu-ray, I'll get the Blu-ray or
Yeah.
above. Right? But I will not buy a movie on DVD ever. And in
Hmm.
Australia, we will only get some releases on DVD. Like we only got Tar last year, a massive movie, Kate Blanchett nominated, probably should have won the Oscar. And in reality, comes out in DVD only. Don't even get a Blu-ray copy of that. To get a 4K is like $60. Babylon, we didn't get in four. Babylon, we got in Blu-ray. We didn't get a 4K for Babylon. I had the import of 4K from the UK of
Hmm.
Babylon. And these are starring Australian people, like big names. I don't understand the licensing system over here. There's the Artifice Girl, which came out last year, which if you haven't seen the Artifice Girl, you should. That only came out in DVD here.
Hmm.
It's just, the list goes on and on. It's just really, really frustrating. We're lucky now in Australia, we have a couple of good distributors who, via Vision, who make imprint, and then
Hmm.
we've got Umbrella, who do a lot of decent enough releases and collectors stuff. So physical people keep saying physical media is dying. It's definitely not dying. It's actually getting bigger. It's becoming more niche, like
Yeah.
vinyl was. And in the end, once people catch on in a few years that these streaming services are just taking the piss, physical media will come back. Blu-rays did 4K. They will soar again, and they'll just keep selling. In Australia, there's only one main store that actually sells physical media.
Hmm.
Everywhere else doesn't, just got rid of it. It's which is bizarre.
Yeah.
And there's talk that these guys are actually pulling out of physical media too. So I don't know what the fucking hell I'm going to do when I want a movie. Like it's
Yeah.
just going to be stupid.
No, I know, I feel you. I feel you. It's not as bad in the UK, but there's only where I live, there's a one store that you can walk in and actually like, search for Blu-rays, 4Ks. Most of it is a new release, like, so newer movies, but they do actually have like a
Right.
nice international section. They do have like older movies as well, and some Criterion releases. Obviously, there's a
Yeah.
BFI releases because British Film Institute in the UK.
Yeah.
Duh. So there's a lot of it. But here's the thing, right? You love to support movies, but at the same time, it's hard to justify paying for, let's say, an older movie from, let's say, 60s, £17 or £20 for a Blu-ray. And
Mm,
I'm like,
mm.
as much as I would love to, like maybe not this month, maybe next month. So, it's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
kind of like you. I'm trying to see like some deals when they come about. And
Always looking for deals. Yeah.
yes. Anyway, any other question for me?
Um, no, I think that was good. I like to talk about physical media.
Okay, okay. No, that
No, I think that was,
well, this has been blast. This like,
yeah, I agree.
I've enjoyed talking to you, Adam. Honestly, like I cannot appreciate, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time of your day and talking to me. And if people enjoyed it as much as I did, where should they follow you? Where would you send them?
My Letterboxd curb writer is my Letterboxd handle. I'm pretty prolific on there. Yeah, I'm already up to near 50 movies, I think, for the year. So yeah, it's too much. I need to actually get out and do some exercise. It's KERBRIDER curb writer. Yeah, check me out.
And of course, you're writing for a Sift Pop once a month, I want to say.
Oh, of course, yes. Sorry, yeah. I do write for SitBot.com. I write a monthly column called 20th Century Flix, where I basically just watch a movie from the 19s, and basically analyze it and see if it holds up to modern standards, mostly. So my
Hmm.
next one, it should have been published by now. I don't even know if it has been published. Actually, is a rather negative review. So that's what I like about the column is that I don't have to praise everything. I can actually, if something's shit, I will say it's shit, and
Yeah,
I love to do that. I do keep that to a minimum, but mostly praising things. But yeah, this one's a piling on one.
nice. No, it's all good. No, that's good. Great. Thank you. And if people want to find me, I'm on Letterboxd and in Movies Lost, or on my blog lostinmovies.co.uk, where I post a review twice a week. But as always, this podcast is a part of SPDM Crew Podcast Media. Also, big shout out to HiFlyer Creative for designing my logo. To see what else they have happening, visit highflyercreative.com. So until next time, bye bye.